Welcome back. It has been a while. I missed you guys. I've been, you guys know I've been all over the country doing interviews this last week. My guest today, I've been very, very excited to have her on. She's originally from Chicago. She used to sell copiers. She's a semi-pro volleyball and basketball player. And by the way, she also has one of the most controversial podcasts on the entire planet. Welcome, Miss Pearl here. Pearl, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Excited to have you on here. We've been talking on Instagram. And I was just excited. I thought I was going to have to come out to London. I will at some point come out there because I love your studio.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. It looks like a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. But you came out here to do you're doing a U.S. trip. How's it been so far?
It's been good. I just got off of Whatever podcast.
Yeah.
So I was a little traumatized. Those girls were wild.
The girl directly across from you, not the one at the far end, but the one next to her, she's Gwen Singer. She's one of my good friends.
Oh,
yeah.
Which one?
She had a deeper voice. She has like an announcer voice. You remember? No, she had a red dress on.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, I was asking her.
They were just saying their body counts, and I was just like, this is crazy.
Isn't it crazy?
That's like the girl was like 200. I'm like 200.
Which one said 200?
The one in the middle with the boobs, kind of.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Damn, I got to go back and listen to that.
Yeah, that's how I was like, oh gosh,
that's, crazy,
that's a lot.
So here's the thing. I went back and I watched a couple things. So I don't agree with everything Matt Walsh says, but I do think that he has the right to ask what is a woman. And when people say, yo, that's silly, it's offensive for you to ask that question, that's not silly. You can ask that question. And the fact that other people can't answer it, that's actually a pretty big chink in the armor. You go on Vice. Okay, Vice has you on. You have a panel where you're with a bunch of feminists. And you asked a simple question. You said, how are women oppressed? Now, if I did some research, I could probably come up with some ways that women were oppressed. Mm-hmm. But that the one lady who was sitting to your left, she's a trans woman with the short hair, the blonde hair. I forgot what she was, what her name was.
Yeah.
But she
Eli.
was like, yeah, Eli. She said, that's just silly. And that got me angry. Because I was like sitting there trying to watch this open-minded. But when she said, that's just silly, I'm like, no. Pearl can ask that question.
Yeah.
Because that's where the discussion breaks down.
Right.
If I ask you a legitimate question about your political viewpoint and your response to me is that's just silly, or we're not going to answer that, that means you're too insecure to answer the question. Mm-hmm. So can you talk about like how did you end up on that panel in the first place, and then what was your whole experience like there?
Oh, they messaged me like a week or a week and a half before it happened, and they just said they're looking for women to go on a panel about feminism, and I was like, sign me up, you know? And yeah, they flew me out to New York, and it was actually like 4 hours. It's crazy. We went back and forth for 4 hours, and it was edited down to 45 minutes. Yeah. And that was like the most loony group of women I have / men, all right, men, that I have literally met in my life. Like they were so hostile towards me, like the whole thing. And the thing is, they didn't even keep in. Like they were 10 times crazier in person than on the video, But it was, honestly, it was fun though. I enjoy making content, so it was all together. It was fun to make, but goddamn, they're mad. It
definitely looked fun. You know, one thing I noticed, I don't know if you saw recently, but my buddy Justin Waller and Lucario, they were on a thing on Jubilee like last week.
Yeah.
And when they went on there, it was the alphas versus the betas. And they were having these, and they were yelling at each other a little bit. And at the end, you could see there was just almost like, yeah, guys, let's all go get a beer together.
Yeah.
At the end of your thing with those ladies, there was no, let's go get a beer together.
No, we did not get a beer together.
Yeah.
No, they were so angry. Yeah, they were really angry.
Yeah. Incredible, man. I recommend everybody go back and watch it, because I remember watching that and I was like, okay, this girl is going to have, what I expected was like rational points from both sides.
No.
And I didn't get that at all. And I kept like waiting for somebody to come up with some kind of statistics to like back up what they were saying. Mm-hmm. And then when they told you were silly for asking the question, I was like, this is like, there's no debate here. Like the other people who are against you are not qualified to have this discussion. Oh my gosh. There are people qualified to have a discussion about feminism. Mm-hmm. There are, even if I don't agree with them, they're qualified because they're educated in it. What I was watching was not that at all. Mm-hmm. And that's the part that I thought was a little bit disappointing.
Well, and the worst part of that was when I was talking about playing sports, because that's something I care a lot about, women's sports. Like that's something like that was really important to me growing up. And I feel like it kept me out of like a lot of, I don't know, like trouble, I guess, because I was so busy in sports. And I think it's really sad to see like the end of women's sports. Like to me, like when you let men into women's sports, that's the end of it. Yeah. Like women's sports isn't women's sports. And when I asked, when I was expressing this on the panel, they told me to try. They were like, because I was saying, I can't bench what a guy benches.
Yeah.
I can't do the same things a guy does. Like I'm 6 foot. I'm top 15% of height for men, like 0.5% of height for women.
Yeah.
And the Eli dude was like, have you tried confidence? I was like, what? That's what he said to me.
It was so crazy watching that because, yeah, that's what you said before. So for us in Texas, we had this boy that transitioned to become a woman named Macberg, and she won the state championship and put some girls in the hospital on the way there.
Wow.
And when I was listening to, again, the woman to your left, her saying there's only been a few national championships that have been won by trans men in women's sports. And I'm like, well, 0.02% of the population are trans. So that's the reason why. Again, the problem is this, like, that is not an excuse. This idea that just because it's happened a few times doesn't, I have no problem with somebody being trans. What I have a problem with is when my daughter wants to do female wrestling in Texas, and then she's in there and she has to go up against a man who went, let's just say a trans person who went through male puberty.
Well, and I just don't think anyone understands like how hard we work for those like few moments. Like we work so hard. Like I started playing volleyball when I was in 5th grade. I started playing basketball maybe like 2nd or 3rd. Like I've been playing for over 10 years, and I can count on one hand the moments like I've had to go for a state title or for an NCAA. Like I went to the NCAAs twice. That meant, volleyball. In volleyball, that meant a lot to me, you know, to go to that. And then I went to state once. So, you know, I had 3 moments in like 15, you know, at 15, I don't know, 16 roughly years. Yeah. And it's like, so these girls, like, and that happened to that Riley Gaines girl. She trained for 15 freaking years, maybe even more. And her whole entire career leads up to this one moment that's supposed to be her moment. And you put a dude in that. Like, now I've never played against a dude. Well, other than in like pickup basketball, I've done that. But you know, professionally. But I could just imagine like going to all of that work, and we work so hard. That's the thing. Like there's no money at the end of it. There's nothing at the end of it except for like a very, very small percentage. So we work so hard for the little opportunity that there is, and we all do it because we love it. Yeah. And they're trying to give that to dudes. Like I just have an issue with that.
So you played Division I where?
No, I didn't play Division I.
Okay.
I wish, you know. No, I played Division III. I played basketball, volleyball, and I ran track.
Where was this?
Elmhurst College.
Is this in Illinois?
Yeah, it's a very small school in Illinois. I played for Ohio Northern for a year, and then I transferred.
Okay. So I'm a basketball junkie.
Okay.
I've never heard you talk about this. Describes Pearl's basketball game.
I'm very aggressive in the paint.
Okay.
I was really good rebounder. So like,
are you usually the tallest person even in Division III or on your team? Are you maybe the second tallest person on your team?
Division III, I'm one of the tall. In Division I, like that's the thing. I was actually short for the positions I was in.
For Division I, you play the 3, maybe the 2, but you can't play the 4 in Division I.
No, you can't.
Yeah, those girls are 6'8".
Correct. Yeah. So and same with volleyball too. Yeah. Like for my position, you kind of had to be like 6'2".
I don't know that much about 6-player volleyball, right? The hardwood volleyball.
Yeah.
Are there a lot of different? Are the heights all different, or are the girls all around the same height?
No, the heights are all different. Yeah. I was a middle / like outside, but those are a bit taller. Back row is shorter.
Okay, I didn't realize that. I had no idea about that.
That's the libero, the one in the other color jersey, they're like the shortest one usually.
So when you play college basketball, you played the 5.
Yes.
Okay, so describe your game. You were a rebounder, like what kind of?
I was a rebounder. I was really good at boxing out. Like when I would box people out for rebounds, I would knock them over sometimes. Okay. And I was a really good posting up. And I actually had a decent 3 too.
Okay, so Pearl's go-to move. You're playing somebody who's like maybe even bigger than you. What's your go-to move when you were in the post?
Back them up into the basket and just do a layup. Like that was my. And
you're a good 3-point shooter?
Yeah.
Did you handle the ball?
Not really.
I actually want to play basketball with you.
Yeah, I'm so down.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't. That was my weakness, was I couldn't really dribble.
Yeah.
So I could do a 3, like I could run out and shoot it.
Yeah.
But other than that, like I wasn't going to drive really much. I was just like a post or /3, but I had to run out.
Defensively, you were under the basket all the time?
Yeah, I was a pretty good defender. I was a pretty good defender.
In England, you said you were playing semi-pro volleyball and semi-pro basketball?
Yeah, well, I played for the school, so I think it's technically something else. I played for the school volleyball and basketball. Mm-hmm. I did semi-pro volleyball.
In
England, yes.
Are you playing for a team there? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, it's a bit confusing, but basically you do your master's program. So you get your master's degree and you get like a scholarship for it, and then you play for the school, and then you also play for the semi-pro team. You can actually play pro basketball in England, but I was not. That was like the best team in Europe where I lived. I was not going to make that team, but I was a better volleyball player than basketball.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Now the transition, because here's the thing. You're doing a show where you talk about male-female relationships.
Right.
And I'm curious, first off, how did you being an athlete affect your ability to be in a relationship? And then number two, we talk about, you were on with Jedediah Bila, right?
Yeah.
Jedediah had this discussion before. Jedediah did not have a baby until she was 40.
Wow.
Okay. She did it, and she doesn't recommend other people do that.
Right.
Maybe, I think 38, she got married, 40, she had a baby.
Right.
She's 44 now, so she has a 4-year-old. She's not in the middle of the standard deviation. We know that, right? That's going to be before 28, before 27, somewhere in that area. She waited till she's 40. She has a baby now, and she says, "Okay, I know I'm out here in the fat tails of the standard deviation. It's very rare. I forget what the stats are. You probably know about losing half your eggs at the age of 30.
Yeah,
and it's less than 5%, 2% once you cross the age of 40. So I'm curious. So she understood that she was, in essence, talking bad about boss women, but she was one at some point because she was on The View, right? She waited till she was 40. And with something she talks about, she's like, I know I was living that life, but I wasn't happy.
Right.
And so I'm curious, from your standpoint, being a college athlete and then having this podcast, has this been difficult for you for your dating life?
Yeah, I mean, I would say just like the sports for sure. Like it's tough to like be traveling in and out of states when you're in college, you know, because the schedule we had was like really, really intense. But yeah, I would say it makes it tough sometimes.
Because of the traveling?
Yeah, just because of the time. Like that's why after this season, I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this again.
When I ran track, the girls I used to date were track athletes.
Yeah.
Was it like that for you? Were you usually athletes with the guys that you would go out with?
Yeah.
Do you like male basketball players? Is that like a type for you?
Not really.
No.
I mean, they're like fine, but like basketball players are a bit like they tend to be like kind of players. So I just try to not, you know, like they're good looking. Do you know what I mean? But like it's just kind of you're kind of asking for trouble there.
Got it. Nice. Yeah. So from that standpoint, again, I'm curious because we talked about this before. In your situation, you're now a public figure. You have this show. Also, let's back up to one other thing. I started this podcast because of some remnants that happened because of a breakup. I went through a breakup, and this girl started lying, saying all this kind of crazy shit about me. And I was like, I'm never going to let anybody start a narrative about me.
Right.
That's why I started this 2 years ago. Is it true you started this podcast, your podcast, or you started creating content after getting out of a relationship?
I did start the podcast after a relationship. Yeah, I was kind of watching red pill content before that. Okay. But yeah, I did start it like after I got out of a relationship.
Was that a catalyst for you?
Partially, I guess. Yeah, actually, probably.
Yeah.
Looking back, yeah.
When you ended this relationship, did you feel like you were trying to get back at somebody, or you wanted to tell your own story, or was
no, it wasn't like that. It was just more like I was sad. Okay. Like I was just really sad. Like I did end it, but I was really sad. So it was just kind of like a distraction, I guess.
Was you, not to get too personal if you don't want to,
but
like did the relationship end because of mistakes either one of you made, or was there anything bad like that happened?
I think I just realized our backgrounds were just a bit too different. Okay. Like for like a long term, like because it was just kind of getting to the point like if we dated longer, like it's kind of like what's the next step, you know? And I was just like, I just think I needed someone with a bit more similar of like values, background, that sort of thing.
Your views since watching the red pill content has now you mentioned before you grew up, you look up to your father. Your father was very well off, grew up in a 10-bedroom house.
Yes.
You know, with how many siblings do you have?
It's kind of this is going to be a long-winded answer.
I remember your oldest was adopted or was put off for adoption.
Yeah, 9. I grew up with 6. Okay. So when I was growing up in my house, like I was the second of 6. They adopted 2 after I left for college. So 2 teenagers came into the house. They adopted 1 teenager when I was a baby. She moved out when I was 1, and they gave up 1 kid for adoption. So I was in I met him when I was 22. So now I know, like, so it's kind of weird because I grew up with 6, but like total it's 10.
Got it.
Yeah.
Did you had talked about this in length? I've heard you say this before, where they say high value men would always cheat.
Yeah.
And then you would tell your dad, like, "Hey, Dad, you're supposed to have something like that."
Yeah.
Did your viewpoint change from there to when you started watching red pill content? Where was the ethos for you to start creating content like this?
Oh, it used to trigger me when they would say that. Okay. Oh my gosh, I would be so triggered. But when I realized like my parents kind of grew up in a different time. And I realized like what they're saying is they're more likely to cheat when they're in that category.
Yes.
And the question more is like, as a woman, what are you going to do if he does? You know what I mean? And I just think like at the end of the day, you shouldn't break up a family like for your own feelings. There's exceptions, right? But no, it used to trigger me. I used to have like a different opinion on that. But no, my dad's never cheated. No one believes me. Like everyone always says, yes, he has.
Right.
But my dad's like one of the best people I know, to be honest. Like he's never drank. He's like been with one woman his whole life. Like, I don't know. My dad's awesome.
Do you think the possibility or the archetype that you see from your family is part of the reason why you make this content? Because it'd be one thing. I feel like most red pill content is why we're fucking up. And you have a family. When I look at my grandparents that were together for 75 years.
Yeah.
When I look at something like more than 75 years, I'm like, okay, well, there's an example where they didn't fuck up. Do you look at your family like that? Like maybe this is an example of what we could do if men and women would change their behavior?
You could say that. I wouldn't say that's like the reason I did red pill content. I just found it interesting, to be honest. Like I was just interested in it.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there's more than one reason. It wasn't like one reason that I did everything, but yeah.
What caused things to take off for you?
Oh my gosh, it was everyone thinks it was the show. You know what's funny? It was not the show.
Yeah.
It was actually, basically I did start the show. So it was while I had the show. And what I would do is I would explain concepts that I was like watching in red pill. So I think our first episode was like, guys, like, do we actually like this is like so basic now, but back then it was like kind of new to me. So I was like, guys, do we actually like toxic men? Do we actually like bad boys? Like, what do you guys think about this? Yeah. And when I would explain a concept, and I think in that episode, somehow trans stuff or something came up. It was something, maybe it was the pay gap. I think it was the pay gap. That's what it was. And which is really off topic, but then I was explaining how the pay gap isn't real to this girl on the show named Jess. And after I could see, I would always take the girls where the wheels were like kind of turning, where I could see.
You red pilled your friend.
Yes. Yeah. And so then I brought her back, and that was like the first series that took off. And it was kind of like a system where I would do the show, and then the girls that were kind of like, like the wheels were turning, I would take them back and then show them like a red pill content creators stuff. So, well, I mean, I guess Jordan Peterson isn't like red pill red, but they use that word for so many different things.
Yeah, they do. The thing with Jordan Peterson is he invokes evolutionary psychology a lot, and that's why you put him in that category. Yeah, and also like again, we're skipping ahead. You discussed before about Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson talking about an attack on masculinity. Right. And you're a big fan of Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, I am.
Do you feel, can you describe like how you think that works? Because I feel the same way, where there's an attack on just the concept. Like, I don't think there's such thing as toxic masculinity. I think they're toxic people. Yeah. They can be masculine or feminine. But when a SEAL team is coming to rescue me from another country, I want those motherfuckers to be masculine as shit. Right. I don't care about their toxicness. Do you feel like there's an attack?
Yeah. Well, I actually had like sort of a red pill moment when I was listening to like one of Rollo's streams, and he was talking about how like the masculine way of doing things is always considered wrong. Okay. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, it's the same way they'll say, oh, you need to open up emotionally to men, but that's not how men process emotions. Yeah. And so like what I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, like the masculine way of doing things is always wrong. And I mean, before that, I always knew it. I mean, in a way, because it's like you have all these girls saying men are trash, men are the problem. Yeah. Like, but that's like the basic talking point. Like when you really peel it down, I was like, that is so interesting.
I think what it is when men do things in a masculine manner, it doesn't feel right. Again, when you use the example of the burning building or storming Normandy, then the masculine way is right. It doesn't matter how you feel about it. But when it comes to, like, I have this conversation again when I talk to some of my female friends or my girlfriend, where we're having a conversation, and I'm like, you're listening to the words I'm saying, and then you're looking for an additional meaning in what I'm saying, but I mean exactly the words I'm saying. There's nothing additional to it. It's just the words I'm saying. There's nothing else. And they're like, but why are you so mad at me? I'm like, no, you didn't hear what I just said. I'm not mad at you. What's going on is I'm saying words. The truth is exactly the words I'm saying, but you're like looking for my hand movement and my eye inflection.
Yeah, we do that.
And there's nothing going on, and it's so hard. And like, especially for me with women I work with and women when I date before I got in this relationship, it was one of these things where like, I need to be able to trust you. The only way I can trust you is if I say I'm going to be here at this time and you understand there's no additional meaning. It doesn't mean I'm going to be here at this time and fuck you, I'm mad at you. It just means I'm going to be here at this time. if you can't just literally listen to the words that I'm saying and understand the literal meaning, we can't accomplish things together. And that's the thing that's so scary to me, which is why we get into the 304s go over here, right? And then the men you work with are over here, because we're getting off topic here. But one of the things that always bothers me is, because I'll have feminists on the show, and I have a lot of my female friends in LA, usually they're feminists, and we'll have this discussion. I'll be like, you want to be taken more seriously in the workplace. Let's say specifically science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, okay? And then when you do so, when I ask you how you picked who you dated, you started quoting astrology.
Okay, sorry, that's funny.
How am I supposed to take you seriously?
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, again, one of my friends, she was interviewing me for a financial network for Tasty Trade. And while she's interviewing me, Vanetta Logan, and she's interviewing me, and she's like, this is why women need to be taken more seriously in this workplace. And then she says, I don't sign a contract when Mercury's in retrograde. And I'm like, do you not understand the problem there? It's like, you don't understand regular physics. It's okay to believe in astrology as like a fun thing.
Yeah.
It's like when I watched the Hulk Hogan fight the Ultimate Warrior, I knew it wasn't real. They don't really hate each other. They probably swap wives and get steroids from the same person. They're not actually hating each other. The problem is when people start thinking Sagittarius is real, Libra is a real thing. But then I'm supposed, like, you want me to take you more seriously. How am I supposed to take you more seriously when I'm asking you to read The Evolution of Desire, but you're quoting the 5 love languages to me? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm asking you to read Why Beautiful People Have More Daughters, but you're quoting Sperm Wars to me, or you're talking about something you read in 50 Shades of Grey. How do I, when I'm giving you objective facts and you're quoting back to me how you feel about something, I don't know how to have a conversation. It's, by the way, everything I just said, that goes for Holocaust deniers, flat earthers, and just anyone else who's people who deny the moon landing. Like, they're not using reality or any sort of reason to get into their viewpoint. So I can't use logic or reason to get them out of it. And that's one of the difficulties I found.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's the main one is like when I hear people say I want to be taken more seriously in a certain field, and I'm like, but you still believe in nonsense. You still buy lottery tickets. Like, what am I, you understand what I'm saying? What am I supposed to do that?
Yeah. The flat earthers are interesting. I was like, I kind of wanted to talk to some of them.
Okay. Well, what do you want to know?
Oh, I just wanted to know why they think the earth is flat. Like,
you ready?
Okay.
I did 4 hours, a 4-hour debate with them.
Oh gosh. Okay.
So what they believe is what's called empiricism. And basically the world is what I see.
Okay.
Anything that is outside of what I see is probably not true. So the idea of quantum mechanics isn't real. Okay. Right? The concept of gravity, because I can't see a graviton, it's not real. And so what they do is they make the world basically be what it looks like. If you look at the world from as a 6 foot tall person standing in the middle of a desert, it looks flat. It looks like you're on a flat plane. But the reality is, the planet that you're on is 24,900 miles around. Okay. And so because it's that big, you can't see the curvature in it. One of the things Buzz Aldrin said when he landed on the moon is he said, I could actually see the curvature of the moon because it was so much smaller than the Earth. Does that make sense? I could see the horizon, the literal horizon of land beyond. So what happens is what flat earthers believe is that like this whole thing was a conspiracy. And you'll notice there's a lot of anti-Semitic stuff in here. There's a lot of Rothschild, Illuminati. They're protecting you. NASA is part of this global cabal conspiracy to hide the truth from you. And whenever you try to produce any kind of evidence to counter that, all the photos are faked. Really, all of them are faked. They used CGI in 1969. No, that's not true.
Do you think any of the photos were faked?
No. What happens is this. Do you know how to use the panoramic view on your phone?
Yeah.
Okay. What happens when you use the panoramic view? What happens is the AI in your phone starts taking all the photos, the multiple photos it takes, and then it matches them up together.
Right.
That is called a composite. On NASA's website, because sometimes you can't have the focal length work to take the picture of an object 8,000 miles across, you have to use a composite of multiple photos to get a photograph of the Earth. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Because the photo is a composite, flat earthers then say it's faked. A composite is not faked.
Zerka, what's going on?
No, I definitely.
That's his name, right?
I definitely want to go at Zerka. Me and Zerka.
Zerka. Yeah. Well, you got to explain this. Yes. You're the flat Earth guy.
Yeah, so it's the photos aren't fake. Now he's just going to say they're fake. He's not going to provide any evidence that they're fake. He's just going to say it's fake. He's going to say, why is it that the flat Earth symbol is the same one as the United Nations. And I'm like, no, dude, that's not evidence. People don't understand when people say evidence, whenever I have a feeling about something, it's like, isn't that a coincidence? A coincidence is not evidence, but they'll say it's evidence. Does that make sense? I'll give you real quick next time you talk to Zerko, these 3 things, they won't be able to counter them. Number 1, when I'm standing in Buenos Aires, when I'm standing in Sydney, and when I'm standing in Buenos Aires, Sydney, and when I'm standing in Johannesburg. When I look to the south, I see the Southern Cross. When I'm in Nevada, I can't see the Southern Cross because I'm in the Northern Hemisphere. When I look in the same direction in Johannesburg, south. When I look in Sydney, south. And when I look in Buenos Aires, south, I see the same object. If the Earth is flat, in those 3 areas, I should be looking in 3 different directions because the Earth is flat. But it's not, because I'm looking at the same object, the Southern Cross, because the Earth is round. It's unequivocal proof that the Earth is round. That's the end of the discussion.
Okay.
The second one is, if I look at the moon, flat earthers believe that the moon is 4,000 miles away. Well, if the moon is 4,000 miles away, if you do simple trigonometry, if I'm standing in the tip of the southern South America and I'm standing in Alaska, I should see a different face of the moon, right? Because it's only 4,000 miles away. But I see the same face of the moon all the time because it's 38,000 miles away because the Earth isn't flat and the moon is a sphere, or it's an oblate spheroid, oblong spheroid, whatever it's called, oblate spheroid. So that's the reason why. That's the second unequivocal proof that the Earth is round. And then the third one is, I used to fly for the U.S. military, and if the Earth was flat, a trip to go from South Africa to South America would take like 20 hours. Because it spreads. Does that make sense? But it doesn't. It takes 7 hours. So what they're saying is, their retort to that is, no, it's because you're flying faster than the speed of sound. And I'm like, no, I'm in a 747. I can't fly faster than the speed of sound. And they just make up this nonsense. Those 3 proofs. But here's the number 1 proof, the absolute unequivocal proof that not only landed on the moon, but the Earth is round.
Can I guess what it is?
What is it?
Is it the time, like the sun is like time changing?
No.
Okay.
Nikita Khrushchev congratulated the United States for landing on the moon.
Oh.
Think about it. So he's lying that the United States landed on the moon. They were literally willing to go to nuclear war with us, but they're going to lie that we went to the moon. Like that's the main one.
Did they ever land on the moon?
No other humans landed on the moon from any other countries. Just the 12 men from the United States. There were six things. I
don't know much about space travel.
No, we can get it. Like whatever named Zerka, if he wants to go into like the Van
Zerka, come to Vegas.
The Van Allen belt lie, like the Van Allen belt nonsense, like all this stuff. There's answers for all of it. It's just the thing is like the Holocaust denial and flat Earth. The reason why I go after these 2 specifically is because they can't exist if you take any time to look at the other point of view. If you look for reasons why the Earth is round, you understand why the Earth isn't flat. And if you look at reasons why there were 6 million Jews that died during the Holocaust, you can't come to any other conclusion that 6 million Jews died during the Holocaust, because there were 9 million Jews before the war and there were 3 million Jews after the war. They didn't just vanish. Aliens didn't take them off. They didn't end up in the United States. They weren't in prison camps in Russia. They just non-existed anymore.
Nick, you got to come on.
100%.
Nick too, but
here's my favorite part. Again, during the Nuremberg trials, when they asked the Nazis, none of them denied that there was a Holocaust. None of them. There was no Holocaust deniers until the 1980s. It's just not, because it was 40 years and so many of those people had died.
You know what? I'm not going to explain his point of view because I've had enough. But yeah, Nick, you got to come on.
No, for sure. No problem with that. But like, that's the thing. Like the problem is, again, I'm not making a judgment about any of the other stuff. Like, is there a one world government? That's not my point. The point is, when you believe in these things, you're doing so because you're not allowing yourself to even look at the other point of view. Does that make sense?
Are you a deep state believer?
Listen, I work for the federal government. Like, no, they're morons. Like, the real answer is so boring. Pearl, people hate the real answer.
You don't think there's like a globalist agenda, depopulation?
No, here's the problem. Like, if you really understood how stupid people get at the federal level, you would never believe this shit. Like, it's so.
I did see it a bit in corporate America.
There you go.
That's not the federal government.
But like, I flew for the military for 7 years, and like, we were flying airplanes that were built in 1957. Like, in order for us to get the paperwork we had to fill out to get a new pencil. You're telling me there's some globalist conspiracy? No. Are there a few rich people who have like really bad agendas? Fuck yes, of course I believe that. But this idea that it's just like 2 things can be true, right? Hillary Clinton would have been a fucking horrible president, and she doesn't eat babies. Those 2, like,
do you think she was killing? Do you believe her body list or whatever? She's killing everybody. A lot of people have died. I don't actually have an opinion on this. I don't know.
So here's the thing.
I think conspiracy theories are kind of fun.
Yeah, they are fun. But the problem is they're fun, but then what is feminism? Like you said feminism was a hate group, right? You remember you said that?
Yeah.
But like, do you understand how it's like we want them to understand the truth, but then it's okay to believe in flat earth? Do you see how that's kind of like hypocritical?
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? We're using empirical data to show that when a woman cheats in a marriage, 83% of the time she picks a new partner.
Right.
That's a really good piece of information. But when I explain to a flat earther that it's a retroreflector in the Sea of Tranquility and we can go shine a fucking laser and a beam come back in 1.1 seconds or 2.2 seconds, which irrevocably, proves that there is a retroreflector up there and we landed on the moon, that all of a sudden that evidence is thrown out. But the evidence that women cheat is not thrown out. It's like you believe in the evidence when it supports your cause, but not when it doesn't. I'm for the evidence in all cases. So that's the thing. If red pill is a derivative of evolutionary psychology, then let's believe the science then, but then we can also believe in the science. It doesn't mean that there can't be additional science, but the point is like, it's like we want to believe the truth when it comes to male-female dynamics, but we don't want to believe the truth when it comes to fucking what happened during World War II. That's stupid. I just think that's hypocritical. That's just my point.
Okay.
Sorry, we're getting off topic here. I do want to...
Hillary Clinton's body list, though. Yes, no?
I don't think that she intentionally is asking people to kill other people. Do I believe that there's somebody in their organization that may have done something like this? Possibly. There's a lot of people. You're right. But like, do I think that... So for instance, let's just say the people who believe that the election was stolen. If you think that Joe Biden is sitting in a room just like pointing out different places where the election is stolen, is someone in the organization maybe doing it? Possibly. But it's not like you understand when Barack Obama wasn't holding a gun to kill Osama bin Laden. It was SEALs who were doing it. There are people in the organization who put that whole thing together. It's not Barack Obama who was literally doing it. So I don't know. I really don't.
Okay.
My gut tells me it's okay. Like it's easier to believe that it is true, but it's not true. I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't have to. I was just curious.
Dude, it's really hard to be a political conservative person and then have all these fucking conspiracy theories that like you have to deal with. Like it's crazy. Yeah. Like no, dude, it's. I don't know. I just want to get too far down this hole. I'm sure I'm going to end up on some stream getting yelled at by a bunch of people. But like, it's just, like I said before, Hillary Clinton can be a terrible president and not eat babies at the same time. Okay. Both things can be true.
I didn't even hear the eating babies.
Yeah, they said she drinks adrenochrome from babies and all this kind of stuff.
I've heard that, but about Hollywood.
I mean,
I don't know. You sound like my dad when I tell him these conspiracy theories. That's what he says. I just think they're fun.
So before, because I'm going to get so much hate for all the stuff I just said.
Okay.
Before I go any further, let me just say this. Let's say all of it's true. Let's say there really are lizard people who live under Antarctica.
They think there's lizard people?
How have you not heard this? Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's say George Soros and Hillary Clinton drink adrenochrome. Let's say all that stuff is true.
Yeah.
That's the reason why you live in your mom's basement? Is that the reason?
Yeah.
Because the Illuminati? No, you live in your mom's basement because you're a fucking loser. One of the things I love that Andrew Tate said is that he said, there's a matrix, and I just learned how to manipulate the matrix for me. It doesn't matter who president of the United States is, if you think he's a fucking android or a Democrat or if he's Bernie or whoever, is that the excuse why you're fat? Is that the excuse why you're broke? Is that the excuse? I don't care who the president is. I'm still going to be rich and in shape. I'm not going to make excuses. So if you want to believe in conspiracy theories, that's fine. But when you do it in order to either try to get a bunch of views or two, because you're trying to make copes for your own failures in life, that's where I see it to being a problem. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there are real conspiracies that nobody talks about. How about the Tuskegee experiments where they're letting men have syphilis, African-American men have syphilis in Alabama for years? They had antibiotics back in the 1930s and they were just letting these men die of syphilis for years. How about the Iran-Contra affair where they were like shipping crack cocaine into California? We don't talk about real conspiracies.
Oh, wow.
But we talk about the ones, MK Ultra. We know that. The CIA was giving people like mind-altering drugs. There are real conspiracies out there. But we're still stuck on Bush Plan 9/11. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
One of my favorite things was Julian Assange with the whole WikiLeaks thing. He comes out and he said, dude, I've just given you millions of fucking emails. I give you all this evidence. And you guys are still stuck on Bush Plan 9/11. I have no evidence to support that whatsoever. There's so many other conspiracies that are actually out there that you guys don't want to worry about because they don't involve lizard people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the issue. I'm sorry. Like that,
you're okay.
We're going way too far down this. What I do want to talk about is this. One of the things that you said that was an inflection point for you. Like you said before, you're trying to red pill one of your friends.
Yeah.
Which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
Right? You said that there was getting attacked by whales.
The whale attack.
Yes. So there's multiple. Like apparently there was one main one and then there was multiple others.
Well, no, I mean, I do go in kind of hard on the fat chicks.
Yes.
I know. They get mad at me for this. The original whale, this is how the whales started, okay? I was doing street interviews, okay?
Yeah.
And I was doing the street interviews of these two ladies. Now, one was in shape. One was a whale. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And so what happened was I was talking about safety. Like, she was doing that thing women say, oh, I can't walk home alone at night in like blah, blah, blah. And so I was just like, well, why don't you just not walk home alone at night? You're not entitled to safety. I mean, it'd be nice if we have it, but it's not like, men can't walk home alone at night either. And then this really triggered her. So she just knocks the mic out of my hand and she's trying to attack me. Luckily, I had a guy with me. She's like, which was interesting because she was talking about the men attack. And I'm like, you're attacking me right now. And she's like, I'll have you, you slag. I'll have you. And I'm going like this because my friend was like holding her back,
Yes.
And I didn't know what a slag was. So if you don't know, that is a hoe.
A hoe, yeah.
Whore. Yeah, yes.
It's a UK version of a
whore. And I didn't know what that meant at the time, but I knew I was being insulted, Mike. I was like, yes, I'm being insulted right now. Yeah. And so then I was just like, well, you're a whale. And that was how it started. So then I just started like blanketly calling like fat chicks. And I don't mean the nice fat chicks. I mean the fat chicks that throw their blubber in their face. And so then I did some TikToks going after the fat chicks. They started harassing my family. One kept calling my mother. One got my mom's phone number, kept calling her. Well, yeah, and it's a very, so the second attack was a virtual attack, really. But yeah, I've only been physically attacked once by a whale.
So in that situation, you mentioned that video got taken down. So they didn't care about the part about this woman attacking you. They cared about the part about you calling her a whale.
I guess. I lost my first TikTok account. I almost had 1 million followers.
And that video was on there.
That was the one that got me taken down.
Do you still have it somewhere? Do you have it posted anywhere? Is it on YouTube somewhere?
It's on, I think they actually reclipped it recently and just blurred the lady out. Because on YouTube, it got taken down because of a privacy complaint.
Got it.
TikTok, it got banned. But it's on Jesse Praise's channel. If you guys look him up, that's the guy.
She talked into a microphone, right?
What?
She talked into the microphone? So
yeah.
That's legal consent.
I don't know. That's what I said too. And she was pretty drunk. So I kept trying to tell her to either get in the shot or get out of it because she kept coming in and out. And I was just like, lady, either get in or get out. Like, I don't. And so I actually told her to get out of it. Like, she kept coming in the shot. I was like, I don't care. You're not hot enough for this. Yeah. Like, I can go get a hotter chick to interview. Like, it's not. Yeah. So I couldn't believe they took it down. But yeah, that's how the whale started.
What was their reaction afterwards?
Yeah. I mean, it went super viral.
Yeah.
Until they deleted the video off my channel. But it went pretty viral. It got I don't remember how many views it got, but it got my friend monetized on YouTube. So
wow.
Yeah, so he was happy.
Did that have an effect on your audience that went to YouTube?
Not really. It was like the same audience.
Okay.
Because it was like asking about, I can't remember what exactly we did the video on, but it was something with like red pill type content. So
you mentioned before, the people who get triggered the most by your content are who? You just think it's like, you mentioned before, you thought it was girls who had a high body count or girls who...
feminists.
Yeah.
I would just say general feminists. Probably I do use the word whales a lot. I kind of do it to be funny, but I think it's kind of funny. So yeah, I would say whales and feminists. When
it comes to the stuff you talk about on your show, do you think it's... when I talk about these concepts, I try to do it in a descriptive manner. You mentioned before, I do a lot of research on the stuff that I talk about. I try to describe what I think the world is like, but I don't try to prescribe. Meaning, I tell my friends, I'm like, if you want to be a girl on OnlyFans who has sex with a guy on OnlyFans and multiple guys, you can do that because you live in the United States and you're free to do that. But there's going to be consequences. And these consequences are the pool of men that you're going to have to select from are narrower and narrower and narrower. And when we start with men who are over 6 feet tall, make up six-pack abs, or not obese, and make over $100,000 a year, we're only talking about 0.38% of men in the United States. So you start with that number, and it starts to shrink as he realizes this woman is having sex on OnlyFans. Do you understand what I'm saying? When I just, in the nicest possible way, try to express the consequences to them. There's no Jesus, you're sinning, you're immoral. I don't call him a hoe. None of that. I just explain the consequences. And I do it mathematically. I get called a fucking misogynist. And I'm like, how is this possible? And some of these people are like my friends. I'm like, how the fuck are you calling me a misogynist for pointing out numbers to you?
Yeah, I just think it's when they don't really have an argument to be. I mean, I don't really think it matters how you say it to them. I think they'll be offended either way.
That's one of the things that I thought was interesting is like I start off the just as an experiment. I'll start off the argument by literally saying you can do whatever you want.
Yeah,
you can do whatever you want.
Right.
You can be happy. There's a lot of money you can make doing OnlyFans. I'm sure you can. Now, doing whatever you want, here's the possible consequences. If you came to me and said, hey, Michael, you played pickup basketball for 25 years. Your knees might be fucked up. I'm not going to go, fuck you, dude. I can't believe you said that to me, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like, no, I was like, hey, you know what? You're probably right.
Well, I just don't I feel like older women lie to the younger generation of women.
Okay, go on.
And I just think, what I hate lying to girls. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's like dishonest to say you can just do whatever you want and have no consequence. Like, it really pisses me off. I have 3 little sisters, so it's like you're gonna say you can just do whatever you want, there's no consequences, even though, especially when it's women over like a certain age where they know deep down there are consequences for those kind of things. I mean, didn't that study just come out that said like 90% or 80% of OnlyFans workers are
content creators?
It's like 80, I think it was 80 to 90% of guys, or it was either 80 to 90% of OnlyFans content creators said they were rejected because of it, or 80 to 90% of like guys said they would reject someone because, I don't remember which
probably
way it
the
was.
Second one.
Yeah, it was, but
because I'll tell you right now, those girls who make that money on OnlyFans do have boyfriends. They are getting in relationships. But one of two things happens. Either the guy they're with has some other kind of proclivity, meaning like maybe he's bisexual and he's fine with the content creation, or he's in content creation also. Or what's most likely is that they have a man who, like, they lowered their standards and picked a guy who was very stable, and then eventually they're going to leave him. That's most, again, not all the time. I definitely know some, like, one of the things is when I made these comments, I had friends of mine that were married and they both do OnlyFans together. And I'm like, I'm not talking about you. You guys are doing OnlyFans together. Like, there's some girls that go on there, they don't even pose nude. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about girls who are literally doing hardcore porn to make a buck. And then I'm just mentioning that there might be some consequences for this. And I'm just getting fucking hounded. My girlfriend is actually more draconian about this than me. She's like, I'll never have an OnlyFans. Any OnlyFans. I won't do anything like that. And she made a video.
She seems awesome. I saw her on whatever. Yeah, she seems so cool.
Yeah. So she makes a video, and she in the video she says, I found my dream man, and he's proof for me that because I don't have an OnlyFans, I know that for me to get a guy like this, I need to not have an OnlyFans, right? And the hate, they're literally calling her a misogynist for saying this. She can have that opinion. That's what was so crazy to me.
Yeah. Well, and I just really don't like lying to younger women. And I think a lot of older women give younger women bad advice because they're bitter about the position that they're in.
Yes.
And it's like, I would rather like tell the next generation of women like that this stuff will have consequences, especially because I just have 3 little sisters. So I just don't like that.
I think what the issue is there's very little short-term consequence. And when you're in your feelings, you don't think about that. Because here's the thing. I think people are the way they are, not because of a lack of morality, but it's a lack of consequences. And let's talk about it on both sides.
Yeah.
Jordan Belfort.
Yeah.
Quaaludes. Prostitutes. 15 months or like 27 months in a federal prison. All this stuff. Is he more famous or less famous after he commits the crime?
Oh, more famous. That man built a career.
You saw the dude from Fire Festival. What's his name? Fadden.
I've heard of him. Yeah.
He goes on CNN the other day. He's doing Fire Festival Part 2. The Tinder swindler is starting a coaching program.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't be laughing. That's horrible.
Isn't it horrible?
Yeah.
Okay. O.J. Simpson is about to get hired, because I talked to him about it. He's about to get hired to do a fantasy football podcast. Okay. Oliver North, who was part of the Iran-Contra affair, was a correspondent for Fox News. And when, what's his name? Logan Paul, he goes in that forest and there's that dead body up there, and he violates terms of service for YouTube. He becomes more famous afterwards. Remember, he's canceled, then he does the fight with KSI, and now he's more famous. My point is, no one pays for anything short term. Pearl. And so when you have these women and they're looking at it from a situation where they see the glitz and glamour of one thing, but they don't see any sort of long-term consequences, I think that's what the issue is. It's not that there's no consequences, there's no short-term consequences.
Right. I have a question. Do you think women lie about how much they make on OnlyFans?
Yeah, I think a lot of them do, but some of them I can verify.
Well, because there's a couple girls on the show I was on and whatever, where I started like looking at it at like their likes or whatever. Like one girl said she made $70K a month, and I was just looking it up, and I'm like, you don't even have like subscriptions on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was looking up the number of women on OnlyFans that made that amount of money. It was like 0.01%. I was like, maybe she is. I don't know.
No,
but
you're right. A lot of them are lying because if they're making $300K a month, doesn't it make their decision seem like it makes more sense?
Yeah.
Because even some men are going to hear $300K a month and be like, okay, I get it. You know what I'm saying? And here's another funny thing. So I talked to them, and they may be coping. They may be not telling the truth. But I talk to a lot of them, and when they do make $100K a month or $200K a month and they buy a new house and a nice car, they tell me that there's this point to where their parents are like, okay, I can see you're making good money from this, and they're like okay with it. Now, I don't know if they're telling the truth. Right. I'm just going to take them at their word. But there is a point where, is it $500,000 a month? At what point is it now then okay to do this? And then what are you giving up in the future?
Right.
Because playing devil's advocate, $500,000 a month is a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of happiness you can buy with that.
Yeah,
you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm like, that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
Yeah.
I know I know at least 10 girls who make $300K a month.
Wow.
On OF. And I talked to them about this whole situation, and it's really interesting. Like, from everything from like their entire lifestyle is now a tax write-off. Everything they do is a tax write-off, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And then when you ask them to come on your show, whatever, Fresh and Fit, they immediately say yes. They'll fly out. So Stephanie,
will they tell them to come on?
Stephanie Palomares. Oh, dude, I'll tell. I know a bunch of girls in UK will come. Hit up, Vitali. You know the guy Vitali who used to make the prank videos on YouTube. His girlfriend's Delia Rose. I bet she lives in Manchester. I bet she'll come on your show. She's huge content creator.
Yeah, I don't know her, but
God, I forgot what my original point was, but the concept of like there not being that many consequences anymore. I agree with you on this, but I think that's the reason why there's a change.
No, I agree. I mean, I was thinking about it. I'm like, really, we're bailed out of every bad decision we make. Like, it's like if we sleep around, there's like birth control and there's abortion, right? Which I'm very like pro-life.
Yeah.
Even if we get pregnant, like we can put them on child support, we can give it up for adoption.
Yeah.
Like, which maybe hypocritical. My parents did that, but and then even if we're bad with our money, like there's a million government benefits. Yeah. And it's actually crazy in the UK. I'm doing this like divorce documentary right now.
So you're given a divorce attorney. Mm-hmm. It was something like in cases of abuse, the state pays for an attorney.
Yeah, I think it was like 5 years ago or maybe 7 roughly. The UK made it like that you get free counsel if you accuse a guy of abuse. And so basically like with one phone call, like if I'm dating someone and I just decide, I'm really just not feeling it anymore, I can go to the police, get him arrested, and he can't see his kids. I can get their version of a restraining order there with one phone call, kick him out of the house he lives in, put him on child support until the trial, which oftentimes is like 6 months to a year and a half. And then by the time we get to trial, he hasn't seen his kids in a year and a half. And so now they give her primary custody because the kids haven't been in their life. And there's no consequence for this. And they also get a free lawyer and he has to pay for his. Yeah,
that makes it rough. That when you consider a 50% divorce rate. I don't know what it is in the UK. I know
it's roughly the same.
Yeah, it's like 53%, something like that.
Yeah.
And then the concept of the majority of those marriages are dissolved by women, or the initiation of divorce is initiated by women.
Yeah.
Like, so for instance, here would be the difference in like me and like some other people in the space. I will say if 70 or 75% of divorces are initiated by women, then it's a smart thing for a man to get a prenup. But I'm saying that not because women are hoes. I'm saying that because the stats show that the likelihood is she's going to initiate the divorce. And so she should not be incentivized financially to initiate divorce with you. This is something me and Brandon Carter talk about all the time. It's like, what?
Well, I don't think marriage is marriage anymore.
Okay.
Like it can't be marriage if you can get out for any reason.
Yeah.
Like if you read marriage vows, it's like for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, like all that. So it's like, is it really marriage if the average marriage is like 8 years?
Yeah.
Like that's not marriage. It's something else. It's basically just like a contract for a long-term relationship, essentially. I think it's sad. Like I don't say that in like, but it's interesting because when I first got into the red pill space, I was kind of triggered. I was like, why are these guys so anti-marriage? Like my parents are good. Like they had these kids, they built this business together. They both came from nothing. Like it seemed like a really good idea. But then I've been doing this divorce documentary and I'm just like, I can't think of a reason why I'd sign up for that as a guy.
Yeah.
I don't know as much about the laws here, but in the UK, it's like crazy.
Yeah, that's another thing that Rollo said, which was he encouraged marriage in his own life, but he doesn't like the idea of marriage, the current way that it's done.
I hate how much they run him up the flagpole for that.
Yeah,
it actually really bothers me because they never. I don't know that. I think that fan is on. But they never actually listen to what he's saying.
Yeah.
Like, because he's saying that the contract is bad. Like, that's what he's against. He likes the institution of marriage.
Of course, yeah.
But like, today's marriage isn't marriage. But it really irritates me because they always misquote what he says.
Yeah.
But it's like they're not listening.
Yeah, I'm used to that. Him getting misquoted for what he says.
Yeah.
So the thing is with the marriage deal, and I've heard this too, you know, if you talk to Justin Waller or Sneaker or whatever, they're going to say, I wouldn't have a legal marriage, like, or marriage including the state, but I would have a marriage outside, like a religious marriage.
But it doesn't even matter. Like, that's the sad thing. Half the guys I interview, I guess it's funny, it's a divorce documentary, but half of them aren't even married. It's just with the kids. Like, I can't think of a way.
Well, they're losing their kids and not married. Which in case in the United States, I know you have a much harder time keeping custody. So just for those of you who don't understand, if a man and a woman have kids together and they're not married, the likelihood of the woman taking the children full custody is actually much higher.
Yeah.
Than if they're married.
Yeah. Well, like, I had guys that I interview where they avoided like the legal marriage, but the same thing happened to them. They were put on child support. They were accused of abuse, and it's really sad to see. Like, it is so sad when I've interviewed so many guys where like I wouldn't be surprised if they committed suicide.
So that's another thing we're going to talk about, is that men being zeroed out after the age of 40. In their 40s and 50s, when there's their financial destitution and then their wives have left them, they're 9 times as likely to commit suicide.
Yeah, no, I see it. Like, I've interviewed these guys. Like, there's one guy, the state, literally, like, he was warning, like, his wife or girlfriend or whatever basically got into this like feminist group. And that's like the other thing, because they'll be like, oh, just find a good girl. But even a good girl can get like the wrong friends or in the wrong group. And that's what happened to a lot of these guys. And so they would get into so like she would get into this like feminist group and they would start like talking or whatever. And the crazy thing that happened was he was warning the state, saying like this is getting out of hand. Like these people are like, the group is crazy.
Yeah.
And one of the girls in the friend group killed the son out of spite. Like, these are the people like I literally have talked to. And the state then took the other guy's child away. So, like, not only did they not listen to him when he warned them about, like, that group, they took his kid away, and now he's in, like, foster care.
Yeah, it's becoming one of these things where you can imagine in those court systems, they're like, well, we don't know what's going on, so let's just go ahead and give it to the mother. Well, right? They're using heuristics to just make the trials quicker and faster.
Well, and I didn't realize that in family court, it's not about evidence. It's on a balance of probabilities. Yeah. I'm sure you probably know this, but
so in civil court, you don't, in a criminal court, it's going to be beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
In a civil case, which this would be a civil case, you have a preponderance of evidence.
Yeah.
So you have a preponderance. So that's a different thing. You can be held 40% liable or 60% liable. So 2 people get in a car accident. So this would probably be a similar type of situation.
No, the way it works though is there's like 6 or 7 types of abuse.
Okay.
And so like I don't know exactly what the number is, but let's just say it's like on a scale of 1 to 10, and if you get a score of, let's just say, a 6 or 7, you're considered abusive. And the problem is they're expanding the definition of abuse. So they're saying like coercive control is abuse. So if I don't want to like go out, if you don't want me to go out clubbing with my friends, if financial abuse, so you didn't let me spend $5,000 on the credit card. I can even say that you raped me because I didn't actually want to have sex when we were married.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. And if a guy gets like a 6 out of 10, and the women's shelters are in on it, like, because basically they'll go to the women's shelters. All these feminists are there telling the girls exactly what to say based on like your background. So they have like a story to give the girls for each, like, this is what you say for a Nigerian guy, this is what you say for a Polish guy. Like it's
wow.
It's crazy. I wanted to, I couldn't find someone crazy enough to do this with me, but I've literally wanted to like find people that could like try to go inside of the system to like show this, because I've heard this from multiple guys. Yeah.
That is crazy. The thing is, like, let's just say somebody's listening to this right now and they're like, well, most women wouldn't do this. And I understand where that argument would come from. My point is, you would be incentivized if you wanted to keep your kids and you're a woman and you understood that all I have to do is in the short term play fast and hard with the rules and I get to keep my kids. What would you be willing to say, like, for anyone who's out there who just thinks that this never happens, what would you be willing to say to take your kids away from your partner? Would you be willing to say that he did these things to you? And then if you were aware that there was a system and was being coached through that system in order to do these things, what would you be willing to do?
Well, and I think of like male, and this is kind of a weird thought process I have, but I think of like male evil and female evil. And like if you take male evil to its extreme, I think of like aggression, right?
Okay.
Like murder, like whatever.
Like Mao Zedong and Pol Pot, Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
And Joseph Stalin.
And when I think of female evil to its extreme, I think of spite.
Okay.
And I think like women, like we're at our worst when we're in like a relationship where we feel like we were wrong. Whether we were or we weren't, we're at our worst. And right now, like the government is giving us the power to do the absolute, like to do awful things when we're like at our worst. That's like, you know, how many more guys would like kill if the government incentivized them to do that? Yeah. Like when they're their most angry. So
let's talk about this. I think I wasn't planning on this subject, but you'll probably find this interesting. So I have some friends of mine that are worth a couple $100 million. We'll just use Bilzerian as an example. Dan Bilzerian. He lives a couple blocks from here, right? So Dan has girls sign an NDA when they come into his house, and he has cameras in every single room, specifically for the reasons that you talked about. And we had this discussion before, and he says, I've never had a problem because beforehand we film everything. And like it's one of these things where I tell guys to film everything. You notice whenever there's a fight on Fresh and Fit, immediately everyone takes out their phone because they're afraid that the girl is. And by the way, there's a group of girls behind Chris that their specific job, like Icy, their specific job is to get the girls out of there without the men touching those girls. Does that make sense? Because that's the world that we live in now. So they make sure, and then they film everything so that make sure that there's no. You've seen the situations before where somebody's accused of a crime and then the video comes out and it's completely the opposite of what they say. They do that, and I think it's really smart. I encourage guys to do this all the time. Never type anything in a chat that's going to incriminate you. Because let's just say a girl and a guy go back and forward on IG, like they're DMing each other, and then the girl goes and deletes all of her messages, and it just looks like the guy has just been stalking her, screenshots it, and sends it to her friends. So I don't write incriminating stuff on there. Okay, I recommend people don't do that. And then whenever there's any kind of altercation, I say film everything. Yeah. Film all of it.
Well, when I first heard like the ring stuff, like make sure you film everything. As a girl, I was like, oh my gosh, like why would you do that? Like,
maybe not right in the bedroom, but maybe in the bedroom. I don't know. Like there's some moral ambiguity.
I mean, after listening to these stories, I'm like, film everything, fellas.
So Bilzerian says one time he was raped by a woman. What I mean by that is like he was asleep, he was passed out. He does an interview where he talks about this, and he wakes up and this girl is like riding him, and he's like, I don't have a condom on, like this girl is just like having sex with me or whatever, and he doesn't remember any of it. He was like fucked up beforehand. He goes back and he watches it on video, and he can see that he was raped. Like he can literally see it, and he tells the girl afterwards that like they're eating, and they're like, if you weren't hot, I would have called the cops on you. Isn't it really crazy? But he filmed the whole thing to protect himself.
Wow.
And again, this is a public story. It's not some private story he told me. If you guys go watch the Fresh and Fit interview, he goes into detail about this. But it's just one of these really interesting things where I personally think a solution, because there's both sides to this, right? There's the believe all women side that is saying all these things are being underreported, right? And then there's the men in the red pill side where they're like rape is just being used constantly as a tool in order to use against men. And my answer to this whole thing is let's just document everything. Let's just find out what the actual truth is. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? That's what I would propose as a solution. Yeah. And whoever objects to that, that's probably your culprit.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. That's what I would say. Let's try to find a middle ground. Do you want to ask you something before we went by? Dealing with abortion, and you said you're pro-life. In the cases of rape or the cases of, would you still be in pro-life?
I'm 100% pro-life.
Okay. And also, like something like preeclampsia, like where a woman may die giving birth, you still feel the same way?
I don't know. I've heard they kind of mislead you with those things. Okay. Like this is just what I've heard. I'm not like an abortion expert and like I know all the special cases, but I've heard there's very few cases where that actually happens. Okay. Like it's like a very much extreme. Yeah. I don't know that I don't really have an opinion on.
Okay. Interesting. Cool. Good. Let's see here. One thing I thought that was really interesting. 20 years ago, maybe 15, 16 years ago, I used to briefly, for 2 summers, I worked with Mystery.
Okay. Oh my gosh, I read that book.
Yeah, for sure. And I took Neil Strauss out for his birthday. I'm friends with Neil.
Okay.
I haven't talked to him in a long time, but we were friends. And then Owen Cook from RSD. I'm curious. You said you went on a pickup boot camp. Is this part of where this whole thing started?
Yes.
Can you give me details for that?
This was when before I even left for England. Because a lot of people don't know. Before the show, I was reacting to red pill content for like a year. Okay. And I was doing like 10 reactions a day. So I watched like a ton of shit. Yeah. But yes, I was reacting to pickup, and I was thinking I worked in sales. So there was this guy, I'm not even people don't really like him or whatever. There's beef, but he had this.
Does he live in Brazil?
Like, just, keep me out of it. Keep me out of it.
Her name's Bennett, and she's not in it.
No. I don't like to be in the middle. Okay.
He already put me in the middle, so I don't give a fuck.
Oh, you know. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. But he was he had like approach things or like pickup videos, and it reminded me of sales a lot.
It is a lot like sales.
Yeah, so I worked in sales for 2 years, like selling copiers. And I was like, wow, this reminds me of like a sales call. And I thought it was so interesting. And so basically this guy said I could come to his like pickup boot camp. It was here in Vegas, actually.
Yeah, he used to live here.
Well, yeah. And no, he wasn't actually at it. He had like instructors or whatever. So he wasn't there. But yeah, and I was thinking, I was like, wow, these guys pay like $5,000 for a weekend. And they would just
101 with mystery. This is 15 years ago, was $10K.
Wow.
Just for the weekend for him. And like now it would probably be more expensive than that.
Yeah.
I talked to Eric maybe a month ago.
Wow.
I tried about getting him on here. I keep telling Eric, I was like, dude, everyone's using your name. A lot of people are misinterpreting what you're saying. I'm not super pro pickup. I actually think they got a lot of things wrong. But Eric is my friend. I still care about the dude. And when I'm like, dude, you got to come out and be a public face again. There's just too many misconceptions about what happened back from like 2003 to 2011.
Yeah, I heard that they scrubbed a lot of stuff from the internet, which was too bad. I wanted to react to it.
So I think you're referring to RSD scrubbing stuff from the internet. So when the Julian Blanc thing happened where, he pushed the girls' heads down and then he had to go do an apology tour on different shows or whatever.
Oh, I don't even know what that.
Julian Blanc was he's an instructor for Real Social Dynamics. After that happened, two things happened. So a guy named Adam Lyons, who was hired to be the CEO of Real Social Dynamics, they were the biggest dating company in the world, the biggest pickup artist company in the world. Adam Lyons, who's also a pickup artist, he informed Owen Cook, he said, listen, they just took Alex Jones down. They're going to take you down. So what you need to do is remove all of this content of you doing cold approach to women in nightclubs. All of this has got to go. So if you guys notice now, RSD does not have any of that content anymore. That's the reason why. That's the reason why all that content is gone. And you'll notice like a lot of cold approach content is just not on the internet because people question not the legality, but the morality of walking up to a strange woman and then without her knowing, her being picked up and then taken away for sex. And in some cases, and I've actually seen this, where pickup artists will say, I pulled the girl and intimate they had sex. And I was there and I know they didn't. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so now it's like there's a tattoo or a dress or like some other person was there that night and they're like, Sally fucked John? And I was like, no, Sally didn't fuck John, but the video makes it look like she did. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I could see that.
And so that was an epidemic where guys were like, they were doing this what's called flash game, where they were showing spinning girls around and making out with girls in clubs, drunk girls in clubs, and then they would blank out the face, so you couldn't even tell if the girl was attractive or not. And then you'd see a picture of them walking out of the club, like a video, and then the intimation was sex then happened. And 99 times out of 100, it didn't happen. And so, but it looked good on camera, and there were entire businesses built on that concept.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, at the pickup thing, they were just like giving them advice on like how to approach girls and like, feedback, whatever. But I was like, that was when I was like, oh, dating is hard for guys because they're getting rejected by some whales. And I'm like, these guys are better looking than, I mean, a couple of them were a bit odd. Like one guy had a whole world domination plan. Like that was very interesting. But yeah, it kind of gave me perspective because it was like I was kind of trying to like help him, I was like, oh, go after it. It was kind of fun. I was like, go pick up that one, And I was like, dang, this stuff is hard.
So I'm curious now that you bring that up. Do you have any opinion on the concept of pre-selection or mate choice copying? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Like we want guys that other girls want. Yeah, I think that's a real thing. Yeah.
Do you believe in the concept like if I walk up in a club and I have a beautiful woman with me who introduces me to another woman, I have a better chance on the intro?
Yeah, I think so because like it's kind of like because they would kind of use me too, like because
they called you a pivot.
I don't know, but
which is funny because you played in the post in basketball. It's funny. Yeah,
I don't know which. I mean, I'm a bit awkward, so I was like, I don't know if I'm the best one to be here.
Yeah, but you're still. But here's the thing: you're still a woman who is showing compliance towards the men.
Yeah.
Right. If the guy says, "Hey, let's walk over here," you don't have to like hold his hand. It's just when he walked to the right, you walk to the right. Also, other women seeing even that level of compliance. And the other thing I talk about is your hips. If your pelvis is turned in towards a man and his is not turned in towards yours, and other women see it, that is there's this evolutionary hardwiring that causes them to be like, just take notice.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, actually, when I think of it, I had a guy friend in college that I was like super like platonic or whatever. I know men and women can't be friends, but they
can be friends. We're going to talk about that
later. But we kind of have this funny thing where we would just make up stories at the bar or whatever, or like going out. And so the one story we would always say is I'd always say he was my brother, even though he was Italian.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So I would just be like, yeah, he's my brother. He like helps take care of my grandma. Like he's the sweetest guy. Let me tell, and just, or what, sometimes we would do outlandish stories that like, it didn't even make him look like, I don't know. I just think it's funny. But yeah, that would help. Like he definitely would pick up women.
So do you think men and women can be friends at all?
I mean, I think they can. I do and I don't. I think they can.
That is the right answer, by the way.
I think
they do and they don't.
I think they can, but I do think that most men will always like kind of want to sleep with you. So that kind of changes the like dynamic of the friendship.
Okay.
I know you have your thing where you have so many women lined up to sleep with you that you can be their friend, right? Yeah.
I mean that's a sorry, baby. I don't know what she's saying. I don't know why she's saying that.
That's what you kind of said, right? I thought anyways.
The actual word is a man who has enough abundance.
Yeah.
You get to a point where it's like, I have my girlfriend, right? Or let's say I've dated a couple of girls, and then there's like 12 other girls. Like when I went to Bulgarian's last party, I was with 114 girls.
Wow.
At some point, there's a girl who brought 30 other girls. That's my fucking friend right there. You better believe that's my friend. You want an Uber? I'll buy you an Uber.
Yeah.
You understand? Like there's some people, two of my close friends, Kylie Myers and CJ Sparks. I have no interest in sleeping with them. They're both really pretty, and they've both helped me build my business. That sounds like a friend to me.
Oh my gosh, that was the exception I was going to say. I do think it can happen in business a bit more because like you're useful to them. For sure. It's not just like but I still do think on like an evolutionary level,
definitely
they still
difficult.
want,
The answer that I give is that 99% of men cannot be friends with women they're attracted to.
Yeah.
Which sounds crazy coming from me. But in the course that I teach you how to like throw these events where you're just surrounded by attractive women all the time to the point where you don't act weird. You've seen guys act weird when they approach attractive women.
Yeah.
Voice inflection goes up, palms start getting sweaty. You started seeing the dilation of the pupil. They'll talk to me and be like, yo, man, I'm going to go over there and talk to that girl. Then they go walk over to the girl and like, hey guys, what are you guys doing?
Oh,
you guys want a drink?
That's the worst.
You guys want a drink? And I say, hey, bro. You were talking to me like we're about to fight. It was like prison yard shit over here. And now you go talk to this girl and it's lollipop shit. What's going on here, dude?
Yeah.
And it's literal constriction of the vocal cords because you think that this woman is high status. And so your vocal cords constrict. You don't want to come off as a threat. You'll notice the same thing happens when men see other men that they look up to, like famous athletes or whatever, voice inflection goes up because of constriction of the vocal cords. So you're giving high status people who are used to being approached by lower status people. They're like, oh, higher vocal cords. Okay, this is a lower status person.
I'll tell you the weirdest thing, like now that because it's crazy. The last couple of months, I just get recognized like everywhere. And it's so weird when people come up to me and like talk to me like that. You know what I mean? Like when they're so nervous. I'm like, it's just me. Like I'm,
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah, it's just weird. But I know what you're talking about when they come. Yeah.
And so you'll see, you understand the high status person is getting approached more than the low status person is approaching.
Yeah.
So the high status person is more used. You could even go like 22-year-old hot girl. She's being approached more than the guys. A 22-year-old hot girl has been approached more from the time she went through puberty to the time she's 22 than I will be approaching my entire life.
Correct.
So she's more used to the low status approaching of her. So she's more quick to see those signs, which is something that pickup artistry doesn't do a good job of fixing. What I tell men to do is you need to be immersed. It's funny when I talk about can men and women be friends. You know who I never have this argument with? Guys who manage strip clubs, guys who worked as VIP hosts, male strippers, dudes who are like club promoters or dudes who are bartenders. Whenever I talk to them, or male nurses, whenever I talk to them, can men and women be friends? They're like, fuck yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're never worried about women to date. They're constantly surrounded by beautiful women. If you're talking about a fucking E3 at Fort Hood in Killeen, Texas, who hasn't seen a woman in fucking 15 months because he just deployed to Iraq and he got back, no, he cannot be friends with women. Yes. Can you, again, the best example I ever heard was Justin Waller. He says, I'm not afraid of a bad man. I'm afraid of a desperate man.
Right.
So it's desperation that causes that.
Yeah.
Like when I was talking to Jedediah Bealey the other day, I was like, man, this girl would be my best friend. If we were fucking hanging out, I would love to hang out with Jedediah.
Yeah.
Because we can
she's so cool.
We can make content together.
Yeah.
She's got really cool ideas. We would disagree about shit and it would be funny. And what Justin Waller says is, if we can't make money together, I don't want to be your fucking friend. That's what Justin, and that comes off as really shallow, but I only have so many friend slots in my life. And if I'm trying to turn my business into an 8-figure business, my friend slots are filled by people who can get me to 8 figures, men or women. You see what I'm saying? So that was one of the things that I thought was like, I think it's very reductive to just say men and women can't be friends. Men of scarcity cannot be friends. Correct. Men of abundance can easily be friends with women.
So you would say that, but 99% of the time they can't be friends.
Because most men are simps, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, fair.
There's 50 million men on OnlyFans and 1 million content creators.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking that's probably like more the exception than the rule.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you just did a couple of things, fix your social media, started like getting involved with big charity events, inviting hundreds of girls at these different events, like started having container events, you're just a dude who has a boat. You just have a fucking big boat that you can take girls out every weekend. You're going to have female friends. You're going to have the 2 girls you're sleeping with, and then Sally, who brings 3 other girls every time. And you're not sleeping with Sally because you know Sally's boyfriend, but you still bring Sally on the thing. And when Sally's birthday comes around, you throw a big fucking birthday party because Sally keeps bringing 4 girls on your boat every time. When you're a club promoter, you know you have to have female friends because what you said about being useful. But it's not just women being useful. My friends are useful. Period. Unless you're somebody I grew up with in high school, my friends are all useful to me.
I relate to that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My friends are all useful.
No, that's so true. Right? Oh, that's so true.
That's the way you got to look at it is not can men and women be friends. It's like, who is competent and useful in your life? Those are your fucking friends.
Right.
Let me something else about CJ. The reason why CJ Sparks, Kylie Myers, and Caitlin Runk are Caitlin Frank are like my 3 closest female friends. There was a situation where all 3 of them had a very easy time turning their back on me. And instead, they gave me some information about some people who were doing some nefarious shit behind my back when they didn't have to. And 2 of those girls are like million+ followers, blue check mark. Before you could buy a blue check mark, they were pretty famous. They went out of their way to help me and show me a level of loyalty when they didn't have to, and we weren't sleeping together. That's why they're my friends.
Wow.
A friend is somebody who's going to go out of their way a friend is not a friend when it's convenient. A friend is a friend when it's inconvenient.
Right.
When it was inconvenient for those 3 girls, they didn't turn their back. They actually helped me out. That's why they're my friend. And so a lot of dudes will be like, well, that's not, most women are like that. You're fucking correct. Most women are not like that. I agree. That's why it's so unique in those situations. I look at people, loyal people are loyal. Intelligent people are intelligent. Doesn't matter if they're men or women. On average, do I find that most men keep their word more than women? Yeah, I do. But you can find different things. That's why when the question is, can men and women be friends? The answer is yes. Are most of men and women capable of being friends? The answer is no. That's what I believe. Or at least that's what the stats have shown me. Right. David Buss talks about, it's called kinship theory. Basically, the idea of men and women, like women trying to acquire as many male friends as they can to help them with survivability, but only sleeping with like one of them. Right. It's a theory. And you see this. Women often will try to get attention from multiple men. Sometimes,
wow.
Right?
Okay.
So it's kinship theory and evolutionary psychology. And the other thing is, I'll just say for men out there who are listening to this and maybe you've never heard this before, women will acclimate you to being around beautiful women. You don't get the constriction of the voice and the sweaty palms and all that kind of stuff. You get used to it. We in the U.S. military, they fire live bullets at you when you get behind a berm, and they fire live bullets over your head, and you get used to hearing what that sounds like. The first time you hear live bullets over your head, your heart rate's at like 140. Then the next time it's like at 90. Then the next time your heart is like, oh, it's just bullets going over my head. I know not to stand up, but I'm not freaking out anymore. The first time you see the hottest woman in your life, you come to Vegas, the first time you see her, you're freaking out. By the 10th time you come down here, it's just not that big of a deal anymore, which is why I encourage men to get used to being around women who are attractive, like what they like, so that when you meet that dream girl that you want to marry and she's stunning, you're not acting like a fucking weirdo. You see what I'm saying? Number 2, women give you access. Like I get invited to every party because I have a ton of female girls. I have a ton of girls with me. And number 3, women introduce you to more women.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
And so that's why
I've set up so many people. I really help people find love on the pregame. I'm a set-upper.
Oh, we're going to try to find someone for you. Actually, that's what we need to do. So let's talk about with friendship. As this happens to a lot of my clients, this happened to me. A lot of people from my previous life, my past life, are like, bro, you've changed. I remember you used to be like this.
Yeah.
Right? You had an incident happen with a previous friend where she made some public comments about you. You can go into what those comments were, but how did that affect you, and like how were you able to deal with that?
Oh, yeah, I was very surprised that she did that, to be honest. Well, I stopped being friends with her like a while ago. So this wasn't like recent.
Yeah.
And what happened was I was making some comments about fat chicks, and I was talking about how you shouldn't, and I think this is basic, like we shouldn't gain a bunch of weight after you get married.
Yeah.
Like I think that's kind of like not being a good wife. She had gained a bunch of weight. I hadn't seen her in a while. It wasn't about her. But the thing was, like, she kept like trying to get me to like every time she'd watch my show and just be like, oh, you can't say that. You can't, like, because she was kind of feminist. And and I was always fine. Like that was kind of outside of our friendship, you know? And we just, before you could just like talk about other stuff. But once you go online, like your friends see all your opinions.
Yeah, isn't it weird?
And so she said she wanted to stop being my friends. And it was weird because when I said, okay, fine, like you said this. And then she got like really mad. And what I realized is like women can kind of be like spiteful. And the problem is like with girls is they'll kind of like take a half truth and kind of spin it. I don't even remember what she said, to be honest. I just remember being like, well, that wasn't really true. I just remember like watching it and thinking, but what I realized is like, I can't really control people. And it was sad, but because I was friends with her for like 20 years.
One of the issues is that you went public with it and started making content based on your relationship with her, like showing old photos and stuff like that.
Oh, I didn't do that.
No, she did.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It reminds me very similar of like a horrible situation with Justin Waller's mom. I don't know if you've ever seen this thing, but Justin Waller's mom starts like saying stuff that like clearly wasn't true about Justin. And I thought it was so lowbrow of like certain somebody to interview her when that whole thing happened. But it's one of these things where it's like, you're not a content creator, but all of a sudden you're trying to become famous off this thing.
Yeah, well, because she was like, oh, she's never had a boyfriend. But I'm like, what are you talking about? I just had one. Yeah. I don't know. So I was like, what? I don't know. She was kind of nutty.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like crazy shocked because I don't know. It was kind of a weird thing with her where I always felt like, how do I put it? Like, I felt like we were like closer when we were younger. And like, I don't know if you've ever had someone like from high school where your life just kind of gets like better and theirs like doesn't. So they kind of like get out of shape. I
have 20 or 30 friends that went to jail for selling crack cocaine.
Oh gosh.
From high school.
Okay. Yeah. Well, she wasn't that bad, but it's just like, I just feel like her life wasn't really like going the way it wanted. And I kind of felt us kind of drifting apart like a couple years earlier. And it's kind of a weird thing with women where you can kind of feel like them getting kind of like jealous of you. Cause I'm trying not to like say too much, but I felt like she was always like my pretty friend. Do you know what I mean? Then she got kind of, and it's weird. I felt like our dynamic sort of like changed after that. I don't know. Cause I don't know, but yeah. I'm trying to not get in trouble. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I understand.
I don't need another 10 videos made about me.
The thing that I think is interesting is I want to make a statement that it's not good for you to have a super high BMI. It's difficult on your heart. It's difficult on your health. It's difficult on your joints.
Yeah.
If I make that statement that it's unhealthy to be at that weight, that does not make me a misogynist. That does not make me a fat shamer. Yeah. I'm making a statement, and I can show you evidence to base what I'm saying. I also don't hate you because I made that statement. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, Nicole Arbor, you remember when she said, "Dear fat people," have you ever seen that video she made?
I've heard of it.
Yeah. So Nicole got sick of LA, just moved to fucking Nashville because she was tired of like, dealing with all this shit. Nicole makes that video. Now she's being a little bit more satirical and she attacks some people a little bit. And at the end, she's like, "Hey, fat people, I love you. That's why I'm saying this."
Yeah.
But it goes back to what we said before. When I talked to the girls who did OnlyFans, and I didn't say I hate you, I didn't call you a name. I just said, here is a possible consequence for your behavior. Then I was called a misogynist.
Right.
When I go off and you say something to the effect of, it is not a good idea for you to weigh this much. We haven't even gotten into the attraction part.
Yeah.
That doesn't make me a pig for saying that it's probably not a good idea for you to weigh this much. But what makes it even more insidious is this shit here. So the 37 culture study done in 1989 by Dr. David Buss, where he looks at these 37 cultures, they have nothing to do with each other. people from Papua New Guinea, Yanomamo Indians, people who live in the Andes. They have no radio, television, or film, and they looked for a certain hip to waist ratio, about 0.72 to hip to waist ratio. In all of these cultures, they look for signs of youth and signs of fertility, which means that beauty is not subjective. It's actually objective. You can actually see, there was this one study they've done it several times before, where they do like a psychology 101 course, and they take everyone's picture, they superimpose them all over each other, and they get the average of all the faces, and that face is more attractive than anyone in the course. Does that make sense? Because it's a symmetrical face. So we know from that beauty is subjective, and beauty is objective, and the objectivity of beauty is implanted in us based on our genetics. That's why when you have the discussion about whether or not men prefer very obese women versus very skinny women, this is not the argument I always hear is like, no, culture's telling me to not accept women for being overweight. And my response to that is, no, here is unassailable proof of this study of 37 cultures that proves that's not the case. And there's also studies where they show like children stare at more attractive faces for longer, which means this is hardwired into our genetics. My heterosexuality and my belief in like what I find attractive is not a cultural construct. It is genetic. That is offensive to a lot of people. The idea of that whole thing happening, that beauty is objective and not subjective.
Well, and the other thing that we were talking about in the podcast she got mad about was how like husbands are afraid to like say this to their wives that they want them to lose weight. And I just don't think that's fair. Like I really don't think it's fair. And you know what else I realized through this whole thing? I'm like, people really, it doesn't matter like what you do for someone. It's like if they feel spited, like they're very like, there's no loyalty in a way. Like that girl, like literally we'd let her stay with us in the summers.
Wow.
Like for free. I'm like, but you know.
Yeah, but she could still have that opinion and then not make TikToks on it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You know,
or keep it between you and the other person.
Yeah. So.
You know what's funny? We talk about different aspects of masculinity. One of the aspects that doesn't get brought up enough is the concept of like standing behind your tribe, even when they're wrong. Right? Yeah. So I agree, like with the Rollo, with the whole tweet with the vasectomy thing, all these people started attacking him. And I'm like, my first instance, you know Kevin Garnett, obviously, you play basketball. Kevin Garnett does this one interview and he says, if one of my teammates gets into a fight, I'm jumping in on his side. Yeah. I don't know what the fight's over, but you put your hands on my teammate, we're fucking going down. Yeah. When we get into the locker room, privately, I'm going to ask you, okay, bro, what happened? Why did we get into a fight? Right. When they go after Rollo's my friend. Even if I don't agree with everything he said, like I think he's too hard on you. Even if I don't agree with everything Rollo says, he's still my friend. I was going to defend him no matter what. Then when we talked about it, I was like, oh, I actually agree with you. This is stupid. Obviously, he didn't actually mean vasectomy. He was just saying this to be hyperbolic. And it's one of those situations where another example, the guys.
I understood the tweet. Yeah. I agreed with him.
What do you mean?
Like with Rollo, like, I mean, I understood what he was saying. He was talking about it's the fastest way.
The quickest way.
Yeah, and the only foolproof way really is a vasectomy. Like, I'm not saying do it, but I understood what he was saying. It was the 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10 idiot-proof way of doing it. That's what he was saying. Yeah, and I understood what so I was like, I'm on your side, but it's okay.
Yeah, people just like took it out of context, and then we had a long debate about it. But the thing is, in the end, he won because like Ben Shapiro's not talking about me. Right. Matt Walsh is not talking about me.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So in the end, he did win. Yeah. Right? But I thought it was interesting when men stand up for their friends or for their tribe, and then in this case, you have a woman who was part of your tribe and she doesn't. She just sells you up the fucking river. I think it's masculine to stand behind your friends even when they're wrong, but then to privately let them know, hey, bro, this is what we should be doing different. And what I'm seeing instead, though, is a lot of very unmasculine men going off and selling out their friends, snitching on their friends, trying to steal your girlfriend behind your back. That seems to be more of the case. One of the funny things that happens to me is because we said before, I have a ton of female friends. When my guy friends go to my female friends and they start running their mouth about me, I find out about it immediately. I'm like, bro, you're a snitch. You understand what I'm saying?
That's so true. Guys will run their mouths.
They'll run their mouth. Like the amount of information, bro, I'm like George Tenet, bro. I got so much CIA information on these dudes. And they don't realize that because they run their mouth to these girls and they think the girls are going to be loyal to them. And that's not the way it works. Right. When you're not loyal as a dude, to me, that's like worse than anything. That's why you'll never, even people that I don't like, you won't hear me talking bad about them behind their back because it's passive aggressive.
Well, you know that happened to me with the co-host, right? Like I had a co-host that like came out and said I was a colonizer. Yeah. What do you mean? You didn't hear about that? Yeah.
Specifically like colonizer, like the imperialist?
Yeah, I guess. Okay. Yeah, I guess, blessings here against his free will. apparently.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's funny.
No, but it's crazy. It's crazy. The social media just like changes social dynamics because there's like money and throwing people under the bus.
Correct. So that, my point is, it's not feminine, but it's non-masculine to throw your friends under the bus.
Yes, that's like
it is masculine to go to jail for your homie and not snitch.
Right.
That is masculine. The reason why it's masculine is because your ancestors were willing to die for the tribe. That is masculinity. The ultimate form of masculinity is willing to die for your tribe.
Right.
Okay? The ultimate form of I'm not going to call it femininity. I'm going to call it non-masculinity. The ultimate form of non-masculinity is willing to snitch on your homies, steal his girl. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I'm thinking like that's how do they get to the men? They would always like bring a woman and you know what I mean? Like have the girl sleep with the guy.
That's what happened with Petraeus. General Petraeus was the head of the CIA and he had to step down because he was cheating on his wife with a reporter. Well, if foreign service agencies... I'm
so genius. I'm sorry.
Yeah, once foreign service agencies find out that you're cheating on your wife, they can use it to blackmail.
You sound like a 9.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about this. You had Andrew Tate on your show about 72 hours before he was arrested, somewhere in that area.
Was it? Right? I don't think it was that.
It was in December. It was pretty close. He was arrested on December 30th, and you had him on pretty close to that.
Oh yeah, well it was like maybe the 10th or something.
Maybe I'm looking at recordings.
We dropped the video. We had like a whole commercial for it, so we dropped it
super. Okay, that's why I was confused.
Yeah.
In that whole instance, what did you think about having him on? What did you think about the reaction? What did you think about that whole thing?
I thought that panel was genius. I think that was the best panel I ever put together.
Yeah.
I'm just like, who would have thought putting Brittany Renner on a panel with Andrew Tate? I thought of it, because whenever I put together a panel, I'm always trying to put two people on like opposite ends.
Yeah.
I wanted Amber Rose. Imagine if I got Amber Rose and Britt. Oh, but I didn't think of it. But her fee was like $30K. I'm like, I don't want you that bad.
The problem with Amber Rose as opposed to Brittany Renner is Amber Rose is not out there trying. Andrew Rose is just openly saying, I have sex with men whenever I want and I'm not ashamed of it, right?
Yeah.
But she's not trying to benefit human beings. Brittany Renner, at the end of your interview, said one of the most appalling things I've ever fucking heard anyone say. She goes, I believe that my voice is necessary in this space. And I'm like, fucking how? There's videos of you saying you fuck 3 guys in one day and your vagina hurts. How? And you don't even denounce those videos. Please explain to me why.
I've not seen that one. Jesus.
Yeah, dude, it's really bad. Like, look at the ones like when she was in college.
No, I've seen some, but I didn't see the 3 guys. Oh gosh.
But she's like talking about, my vagina hurts because I fucked 3 guys one day, and I'm like, my whole thing is like, you're telling me now that your voice needs to be heard. I agree. You have a right to an opinion. I love quantum mechanics, but there's already guys doing podcasts on that. My voice is not necessary in that space.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, there's already guys doing NBA podcasts. My voice is not necessary in this space. The idea that for male or female self-improvement, your voice is necessary in this space, like, how dare you? That shit was crazy to me. Mm-hmm. Like, what you could do is say, hey, I made some mistakes.
Yeah.
And then because I made the mistakes, here's what I can do to help you move forward. She's not even doing that, though. She's not even like saying she fucked up before. She's saying, I fucked up. Now, how do we fix the world to accept what I did? Bro, what you did to PJ Washington was fucking terrible. Mm-hmm. And you deserve the chat. Like, hey, you want to go to a fucking Charlotte Bobcats game with me? Because I bet you aren't going to be allowed to go in. Mm-hmm. Like, what happened there is like so bad. And she doesn't accept the responsibility for what she did. Mm-hmm. That's the difference. That's why I think Brittany Renner was a better guest than Amber Rose. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because Brittany Renner is going to try to cope, which makes for better content.
Right.
Amber Rose is not going to try to cope. Amber Rose is going to be like, I'm a hoe. Thank you. Go for it. Appreciate my hoe-ness. I'm for everybody. They find us at every party. You know what I'm saying? Ain't gonna be loyal, not for anybody.
Yeah.
That's the difference. But
yeah.
I met Amber Rose at the Playboy Mansion one time.
Did you?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Her fee was crazy. I was like, I can't do that. But yeah. So we had Brittany Renner, then 2 guests from the show on, and Andrew was really. I mean, people always ask me what he was like, but he was so quick in and out. Like he were working on like a time crunch, so it was like he walked through the door, we sat him down, we started filming, and then he left. So but he was super nice. I was supposed to go to Dubai actually for it.
Yeah.
And I lost like $15,000 because my old assistant didn't get trip insurance on anything. And I was like, kill myself. So it was, don't clip that. But yeah, we were all supposed to go to Dubai and film it. And then my passport expired within 6 months. I didn't know they wouldn't let me in the country. I'm American. I'm spoiled. I'm like, what? They won't let me in?
Yeah.
But I'm American. I'm like, what? I've never dealt with this before.
Yeah.
I thought I could get into anywhere. Yeah, not the case. So we had to cancel that whole trip, and then he ended up coming, which was like really nice of him. So,
yeah, that was really cool. Man, I thought it was great. I really enjoyed how it seemed like his tone and tenor made the even the people who didn't like him, they started listening to him more. It's almost like it felt like the whole panel was kind of on his side there by the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, I even learned things from him during that panel because he like the way he explained like just. I can't even remember what it was now, but just certain things from like the point of view of a guy. I was like, I've never thought about like how to get the guy to stop playing video games. Yeah. And he was like, why don't you guys say it like this? I was like, I should. Yeah, I should.
It was genius.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my favorite analogies that he uses is that like when like the amount of work that I did to buy this yacht compared to be on this yacht versus the amount of work that those models in Monaco did to be on this yacht when you were in your early 20s. You were not interested in monogamy, but now I'm being judged in my mid 40s for not being interested in monogamy.
Yeah, that's what's interesting. Like women, like we pick non-monogamy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the topics. It's like if you were to talk to Mia Khalifa or Lana Rose in their early 20s and said, are you interested in monogamy now? They'd be like, no. And then if you said, do you think that older men should be willing to date you even though you're in early 20s? I guarantee you they would have said yes.
Yeah.
Then later on, when all of a sudden they're not in that age bracket anymore, now Mia Khalifa says, well, there's something wrong with men who want to date younger women. And I'm like, no, you're just not a younger woman anymore.
Yeah.
You weren't interested. You were very much interested in older men when you were younger. And by the way, maybe she wasn't. Maybe she's the exception. Most women in their early 20s, if you ask them, would you date a handsome, 38-year-old man who's doing well and is financially secure? They would be like, yes.
You know what's interesting? Oh my gosh, I really did not look at guys that much older than me when I was like 21, 22. Yeah. My mom was like, don't date guys too old. That's like the funny thing.
Yeah, because the whole thing, like you have kids and then they'll be geriatric or something like that.
No, like when I was like 21 or 22, or in college, my mom was like, don't date like guys that are too much like in their 30s or anything, which is interesting because I don't know if that was good advice or not.
My girlfriend didn't realize I was over 40 when we met, and I didn't realize that she was under 21 when we met.
Oh my gosh, she's under 21?
Oh, she's 21 now.
Oh, wow.
I'm 24 years older than her, yeah.
Oh, wow.
I had no idea. And if you hang out with her, she seems so much more mature.
No, I'm surprised. I thought she was like late 20s.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. I mean, she's beautiful, though.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, she's so cool.
I picked her because she'd be down to kill somebody for me. And I don't want her to kill anybody for me. But like if somebody was like jumping on my back, she's down to do whatever. Like this is the loyalty. Does that make sense?
How'd you meet her?
I was hosting Swimsuit USA's World Championship. I'm one of the hosts for that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she was a finalist for that.
Oh, okay.
She'd done like multiple pageants, maybe 20, 30 pageants before that in Texas. And then she did Swimsuit USA's World Championship, and then I met her there, and we just hit it off. And at first she didn't take it seriously, and I was like, no, you're the girl I want, for sure, 100%. And then I flew her out, and then she moved in a couple months later, and she's been with me for the last, since October 27th.
Oh, wow.
Yep. That's pretty much how it's worked. So
she was so cool. I liked her on whatever. I was a fan when she was talking to the like OnlyFans chicks or whatever. I was like, you tell them.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like the thing is, here's the thing: people were offended by that clip, but in the beginning of the clip, she literally says, "You can do OnlyFans if you want."
Yeah.
No one. It's like
they don't commute or compute. Like even if I say I'm not talking about you, I'm not talking about you personally, then they're like, but and I'm like,
Isn't it crazy? It's like the qualifier is there and you're still offended.
Yeah.
That's to me, it's like you're not arguing in good faith at that point, right? That's why the thing with me and Destiny went so well is because Destiny kept bringing up evolutionary psychology studies. That's my specialty. So I loved that debate. He didn't call me fucking names. Now, he said I was a cokehead on one of his live streams. He doesn't know me. I've never tried coke in my life. I get it. But like when we met in person, there was no ad hominem attacks. I appreciate that. Do that. But what happens is you have these discussions with people and you just a squirt of consequences. Just this might happen to you.
Yeah.
You fucking misogynist. And it's like it hurts more. Here's the other thing I found. When I say it's my opinion, it hurts. When I can show studies, that hurts so much more.
Well, and it's like, what outcomes does this lead to? And like that's what I'm always saying. Like, what outcomes does this craziness lead to for women? Like, why? I just don't like liars, and I just hate it. And I hate it when simps do this too. They act like there's no consequences for women when they, and it irritates me more because I'm like, you guys know, you know deep down.
Why are they doing that though?
Because they're trying to get laid.
Thank you.
Yes,
They know, again, like the anthem. Everybody go listen to Juicy J. They for everybody. They for everybody.
Yeah.
But you know what I love about that song? He goes, they for everybody. But I still love these hoes. But he knows they go in this category.
Yeah.
Right? It's an extreme example.
No.
Okay?
Yeah.
But Juicy J saying they for everybody. They're not going to be loyal, not for anybody.
Yeah.
But I love these hoes. He keeps them over here. They're not his wife. They're for everybody. But he understands that. And so that's the difference for me is like, I do whatever you want to do. I'm going to explain to you some consequences. And I'm going to show you some math about these consequences. It's going to be harder for you to stay in a relationship if you've had sex with 50 men. Your neurology is different when you've had sex with 50 men. Well, forget about the morality of it. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think of it like alcohol. Like if you drink alcohol every day, you're not going to get as drunk when you drink it. Yeah. If you have sex with a new guy every single day, you're not going to fall as in love when you do it.
Yeah, Myron he likes to use adhesive tape. It's like every time I pull the tape off, it sticks less.
Oh, they use that in Catholic. You got that from Catholic school purity things. That's what they would. We had chastity speakers every year. Yes.
Again, if you want to do that, that's fine. But the other thing that's crazy to me is when women brag to me, they're like, "Oh, well, I can have sex without feelings." I'm like, "Don't brag about that. Just pull out."
I'm like, ladies,
just be quiet. Like you just pull out your dick at that point. That's a masculine trait. Why are you bragging about a masculine trait? Do you understand?
Yeah.
And when you tell me that, you know what that makes me think? Okay, cool. You'd be fun to have. You're E for everybody. Let me, for recreational use only, I'll have sex with you and then I'll just move on because you just said you can do it without feelings. That actually makes me less likely to want to be with you because I know I can have sex with you and you're not going to trip about it. But here's the thing. They still trip about it. They still trip about it. Like the girl who says, I don't catch any feelings, when she meets the guy who absolutely doesn't catch any feelings for her, then she catches feelings.
Well,
what?
Well, and it's crazy. I asked the girl on the show that slept with 200 guys, how many did you actually like love, or like were you like did you actually really like? Guess how many she said out of 200. Guess. I want to see if you.
Hold on. I need to ask you a question. If this is the girl, real quick.
Out of.
She probably 4.
You're close. 5. That's what she said. I was like, how do you find 200 people? I don't even know 200 people.
Oh my God, I have to know if this is the girl because I didn't. She just wrote me.
There's a girl that said she slept with 100 on my show too, and she said around 5 too.
Okay, can we talk about that? So she got mad because she said her body count, and then she called you out for it.
Which one?
Is this the girl with the 200?
No.
Okay.
No.
Thank God.
Not her.
I was about to hit her up and be like, she was the girl sitting right across from you. She was.
I remember. She was cool.
Yeah.
She was cool. Yeah.
So the girl, you said you had a girl come on your show. And you said, do body counts matter? And just to prove the point, girls do not say what their body count is.
Yeah.
And then you said, do you want to say your body count? And the girl said her body count. And then later on had tried to sue you because you posted it. Can you go into that?
She raised like $10,000 to sue me pounds. Yeah. I'm like, you guys are...
Her objective was to get that pulled off?
No, okay. So this was very early. This was super early when I first started the show. So this was like the audio was so bad this episode anyway. Yeah. But yeah, so it was an episode on body count. And I was like, all right, guys, to start the show, what's your body count? Ha, ha, ha. I say, never mind. You don't have to say it. Yeah. And there was a guy there and a girl. It was 3 of us. And the guy was like, yeah, cool. I'm not, Yeah. And the girl was like, oh, I'll say it. And I'm like, are you sure? She says she's sure. I'm here for the content. Yes, here's the microphone. Yeah. And she said, now, I'm on these whatever shows. This sounds low compared to these girls. But she was like 30 or something. And I was like, whoa, that's wild. And she, so whatever, she's body positive. We have a whole conversation about this.
Yeah.
At the end of the show, I say, would you come back? She says, yes. Yeah. Okay. And also in the beginning of the show, so lady, if you're watching this, just so you know, I have texts of you confirming what podcast you were coming on and knowing where you were going. So stop with this I didn't know bullshit. I have texts to prove this. Lady that raised $10,000 to sue me. She's keeping that money, you idiots. All the people that gave her money, she's just keeping it. Yeah. Like, stupid. Sorry. I just need to get that out there. Yeah. But she freaking, and then she just wanted me to take the stream down. And I just think I put so much work to put on these shows. I can't pull it.
You can blur out words after the fact in YouTube Studio. I'm pretty sure you can. If that's a big an issue, I think I would do that. Now, it takes a while because it has to re-render the entire video. I've done it before, but it was for copyrighted music. I cut some of it out in the middle of the video, but like that is something
I'm not
saying do it. I'm just saying that's a possibility instead of taking it down.
Yeah, no. Well, my thing is, no, I pay money to put this on. For sure. We tell you before it's live, and she knew it was live. So it's like, if you want to say it, this is not like, you're a grown adult. And men have said things and gotten roasted for it, and they don't have the same reaction, but women do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then she said she was going to sue me, and that she was like autistic, and that she couldn't consent. And like, I was like, so we're taking, I don't know.
For those of you who don't know, here's your next public service announcement. If you are on a TikTok video, YouTube, someone is filming, and you put your mouth up to a microphone, that implies legal consent. There is your warning. You cannot, after the fact, say, I was recorded without my knowledge. You see, it's big and black and fuzzy right here, okay? This, you know, when you see the microphone, even if you see a lavalier, if you see anything, if someone holds up an iPhone to your face, if you speak into a microphone, that is the implication of legal consent. Jack Denmo actually told me that. He's a Canadian YouTuber, and he was explaining that whole thing.
Oh, yeah, she has no ground to stand on. Of course. She's just stealing y'all's money, so good luck with that, people.
You made a video not too long ago. I do appreciate you doing these videos, like you're putting your makeup on, you're like in your hotel room. And you start talking about, like after a workout, and you start talking about women need to improve.
Yes.
Okay. The two things you talked about was STDs. What I want to ask you a couple things. The stats that you like to quote, which are the ones that you think are the most crazy ones. One that I remember: 40% of women who have had an abortion have had a second abortion, have had at least two. And then you talked about the thing with STDs. What are specifically some of these things that you were talking about where women need to improve?
Well, the first one is obesity.
Okay.
I think we can all get, like, there's so many men's improvements, right? Yeah. So like, and when you look at the men's improvement stuff, like Fresh and Fit, whoever, it's like actual improvement, like get in shape, and you, right? You have your whole thing, like throw these charity events. This is how you can do that. Women's improvement, it's like, it's so weird. I like study this stuff. It's like journaling, confidence. I'm like, what?
And therapy. We can talk about that too.
Oh my God, therapy. And I am in a psychology program currently, sort of. I'm half dropped out. I don't know if I'll finish. I just wanted an easy program. Sure. I'm just gonna, I don't actually care about it, but these women are crazy that are therapists. Do not, I'm telling you, these therapists will make you more crazy. And I say this, I am in school with these therapist ladies. Don't do it. Crazy ladies now. So I was saying, like, women need to improve because it's like men are actually, like, their self-improvement is about improving, but ours isn't.
It's about problem solving.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's
not about feeling good. It's about problem solving.
Yeah. So it's like
good self-improvement.
So it's like, maybe don't sleep with the entire football team. You know, maybe we could start there. I know you can't undo what's, happened before. Yeah. But we could, maybe not sleep with the entire football team. Right. And then on top of that, it's like, we're so overweight. It's like 70% of us are overweight. So maybe
42% of women are obese, like extremely obese.
Yeah. So I'm like, maybe we could start by getting in shape. Yeah. That's number one. Maybe not sleeping with everybody. Maybe. Yeah.
If you think that I'm shaming you because you're overweight, that's fine. You can have that opinion. It's not a valid opinion, but you can have it. What you can't have the opinion is then me saying you weighing less would not make you more objectively attractive. Yeah. That's when we're getting into just like like just fucking lunacy. Like, of course, you want to know what the number one aphrodisiac is for your man? Be in shape. You know what the best dating coach is for a woman is a personal trainer. It is as shallow as you may think that is. I will just show you study after study of what men find attractive. And there's a difference. This is a big one. And Rollo was the one who taught me this. There's a difference between personal self-worth and a sexual market value. For men, personal self-worth and sexual market value often...
It's the same.
They're often the same.
Yeah.
My competency, my self-worth, and my stature, and even my speaking voice make me higher value to other men and higher value to women. Women's personal self-worth, like Madame Curie, who discovered radium, ended up dying of cancer, right? That's an incredible thing that she did, though. Like, discovered, like, radioactive decay. That's fucking amazing. But that didn't make her husband's penis harder because she discovered radium. In fact, he may have died also from radiation poisoning. I don't know. Well, I don't know what the answer is.
I just started looking up some numbers, and it said 1 in 3 women have had an STD at some point in their life.
So to be fair, I think that may include UTIs. I think that number may include UTIs. Okay. I think that may be because that 1 in 3 is a crazy number. But I may be wrong. Yeah. But I know I've seen somewhere where a urinary tract infection, meaning biome from their outside of their vagina that goes into their vagina causes a tract infection because they don't piss after they have sex.
This was from the CDC. Okay, so I don't know. This is just what this.
From what I understand, a UTI would be considered. Okay. I could be wrong. Somebody wants to correct me. I could say that. But
it was like 1 in 3 women have had an abortion.
Okay,
right, and then it was like 90% of women have been on birth control at some point in their life. Now you're telling me 43% of us are overweight. It was either 60 to 70% of us are. 43% obese, 60 to 70% overweight or obese.
Yeah.
It's like we're
morbidly obese.
And then when it comes to loyalty, we're the ones leaving marriages. We leave 70 to 80% of the time, 90% if we're college educated. It's like, how can we look at this as a whole and just say, we're doing a good job, ladies? It's like, maybe we should improve a bit. And so we have the wife school that we did. A lot of people think I'm teaching it. I'm really tired of this narrative. Everyone's like, Pearl's teaching wife school. I'm not teaching it. I bring in like wives or women that have been in like long-term relationships for a long time, and they just teach like basic skills on, being a wife. So like I learned how to cook for a family of 4 one episode. I learned how to knead bread another episode. Not that that's, you got to do that, but it was fun.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm actually interested in seeing what some of the stuff you put on there.
Yeah. I did what did I do the first episode? I'm gonna get a kid for a day.
Like that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, watch some children.
Yeah.
So it's just going through like skills that you can learn to be.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
That's terrific. Let's talk about this real quick. I'm gonna name some people and you just give me your impression of them.
Okay.
Okay. You said you have something with Hotep Jesus.
Okay.
What is your thing there?
Oh, Hotep. I kind of see. I don't want to start beef. Okay. He's cool guy. He's always tweeting at me like grifter or whatever, and I'm just like, you don't deserve my fire tweets. So
what I understand is like he didn't seem acrimonious at all when he interviewed you. So where do you think this hat came from?
No, he was kind of a bit when he interviewed me.
Was he?
Yeah, I just thought he was trying to get like a gotcha moment in the interview. I don't know. It's interesting because I kind of thought like we all go into interviews like trying to have a conversation. Sure. And what I realized is a lot of people are going into interviews like trying to get a 30-second like buzz clip or or they're very like their audience thinks one thing, and if they go against their audience or are nice to you, like I didn't realize it was kind of like that, because I'm just like I came in trying to have a convo, so that was kind of how I took it, but
just mainly he's tweeting that you're a grifter.
Yeah, and I was just I don't really have a strong opinion on him either way. I just felt like he didn't deserve my fire tweets anymore.
Nick Fuentes.
No, he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy. I think he's got some crazy opinions, but yeah, he was very nice on the show.
On a scale of crazy opinions, which do you think is the craziest, and could you rank them?
Oh gosh.
Because here's what I see when I see Nick.
Yeah.
I see and I see the same thing with Alex Jones and a bunch of other people where it's like 80% of the time, somewhere between 50 and 80% of the time, they're saying these rational things that like follow along with like moderate conservatism. And you're like, oh, that sounds great. That sounds like a great idea. And then it's like, and then the races shouldn't mix. And I'm like, oh, wait a second. I agreed with everything else he said. Wait, should I just agree with this also? Am I also a white supremacist?
Yeah.
And it's like, he just it's a sales technique. By the way, if you don't know this is a common sales technique. You get a bunch of yeses. Well, I think women should be more moral. I think we should go along with the Bible. It's like, that guy's making a lot of sense. And then he just breaks off with the fucking crazy shit.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit, this is the part where you're asking for my credit card. Because now I'm going to join you with the white supremacy. Got it. Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Oh, the Holocaust didn't happen. Oh, just all those Jews just disappeared. They just went up in an alien spaceship. Got it.
Well, and a lot of the stuff he was talking about, I didn't really know. Like, have I studied the freaking Holocaust? No, I don't know. So, I mean, number one, that's probably the craziest one.
Yeah.
2 is the race mixing stuff, but it sounded really similar to the stuff Dr. Umar says.
I don't know what that is.
I mean, I've heard that before from like the older generation. It's not my opinion, but yeah, that's probably out of the interview. That's probably the 2 big ones.
It's really funny because it's really fucked up. So I don't agree with the.
And he believes in like. I've never met anyone that's a fan of Stalin.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I was like, that was crazy.
Kind of fits the whole thing.
Yeah. So that maybe Stalin would be 2. I don't know.
Joseph Stalin was so fucking stupid that at one point, when the German army got all the way to within 2 kilometers of the Kremlin, he had an intelligence officer come to him and say, Chairman, we the Germans are here. We have to do something about it. He had the man tortured for telling him the truth. That's how fucking dumb this guy was. Yes, dude. We guys want to go into Stalin, we can go into Stalin. But the thing is, I haven't watched enough Nick Fuentes.
See, do you see what happens to me in interviews?
Yeah.
You'll say this, right? And then they'll be like, Pearl, push back. And I'm like, I don't. Yeah. I don't know.
Here's the thing with Nick. This is what I've seen. And by the way, I am not qualified to speak on Nick Fuentes because I've just seen a couple of clips and from the stuff that you've done. Yeah. He feels to me like if I was going to draw the conservative that liberals would use to fight against conservatives, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
If they were going to point out a specific conservative to use as the spokesperson to why all conservatism is wrong, and I don't feel as a conservative, I'm slightly right of center, I don't feel like he represents me. So when I hear him, I feel like he's almost a caricature of a white supremacist. Does that make sense? Like he's almost like a Rick and Morty drawing of what a white supremacist is supposed to look like, rather than actually being a white supremacist. It's kind of weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
Like I feel like he's 2 hairs away from telling me the Earth is flat. Like that's what it feels like with me. Because if it got him more views, I feel like he'd say that.
He doesn't believe that. I don't.
Do you know that flat earthers get their beliefs from the Book of Genesis? It says that there's a firmament over us. That's where they get it from.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not into. I don't know about that, but he's a nice guy. He's a smart guy.
Do you know who else is super nice? Is Gary Grinsberg, the fucking Gary the Numbers guy. So fucking nice to ask me out to go to dinner afterwards. Yeah. And then he just says this like horrible stuff on there. Yeah. And basically like, I don't even want to get into the main parts of it, but like it's one of these things where I understand that people will say a couple of things. Like I'll give you an example. Man, I listen to Candace Owens and she says a bunch of things. I'm like, oh, I agree with what you're saying. Yeah. It's still, I don't think it was relevant that George Floyd committed crimes before somebody murdered him. Like, why are you who gives a fuck? Like, why are you bringing this up? As a conservative, I'm just like, I don't understand why you're doing this. So it's like one of these things where I agree with that. I can get 10, 15 things that I agree with. And then you go off the rails on this one thing where it's like, you are looking for support on White Lives Matter, which I'm fine with, but then you're using Kanye West as sort of like to help you with this whole thing when he openly has a mental disorder. That was one of the things where I had a big problem with the Kanye thing is like Kanye's admitting Kanye has a mental disorder. And now we're holding him up to the light being like, this is an example of what we need to follow. And his viewpoints are valid. I'm like, wait, can we just back up and use somebody else besides the dude who admits to getting off his medication? Can we use somebody else? That's the part that I think is just kind of like irresponsible. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I think Kanye is crazy or not, but that's
Kanye said he's crazy. Like Kanye is frequently said.
Yeah, but he's also said that like he's tired of people saying that he's crazy when he's like gifted. Like I don't know. I don't really want to.
He also said slavery was a choice.
I'm definitely not speaking about that comment. Keep me out of that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Kanye's completely
when I listen to his like full stuff, like I understand what he's trying to say.
No, I understand what he's trying to say. I get it too, but I also think he has a cluster B personality disorder. Like that's the issue. And like the thing is, can we use? We're using extreme examples on both sides. Like AOC is an extreme example. I think there's liberals who are way more middle of the road and like understand concepts better than her. Right? Men should not be competing in women's sports. That's ridiculous. Like there's no counter argument to that. And then but then you see this, like this is an extreme example. Can't we be like a little bit more moderate and have a conversation? Because if we can't, there's no conversation to be had.
Well, I think that's the problem with media, to be honest, is that like people just become so beholden to their audiences.
Yeah.
So they have to be extreme and they can't like talk about nuance.
Well, but I think Kanye is an example of that. I mean, he doesn't, he says, I love Hitler. That's not nuanced. That's being a shock.
I don't think he does that for his audience.
Right, but
he just says things.
That's mental illness. Yeah.
I mean, I don't really see it, but you can have that opinion.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Even Alex Jones was like, what the fuck is this? Anyway, that's fine. The other thing I was going to talk to you about, so I would love for you and Rollo to be able to sit down and like, I don't know what the fucking problem is. I kind of understand. What do you think the issue was where you guys would go back and forth? What do you think it came from?
Back and forth.
Not back and forth.
I did not respond. Yeah. What did I respond to?
You didn't respond to anything. I said that incorrectly.
Yeah.
Where do you think it comes from? And then I'm going to tell you what I think it is.
This is when we started. He was really helpful to me in my set.
Yes.
And so he was helping me with stuff, and he was giving me advice. I start to blow up. And I was trying to get him to like mentor me.
Sure.
And I think like I was saying, I would pay him for his time. And because I really looked up to him. Like, honestly, I thought like he was so smart, and like I just really loved his streams.
Yeah.
And then he basically he went on this like podcast and then was like, oh, Pearl, I forgot. I don't remember what he said. Mm-hmm. It really hurt my feelings though, to be honest. Like she's a hack or something. And I was like, I thought, okay, you know.
His exact words to me, because we had a conversation about it, is that he said the same thing, that he thought you were a hack, but he didn't dislike you. It was just one of these situations. Let me talk. I'll talk after you finish. If you finish saying what you're saying.
Yeah, and so then, and that. I'm like trying to remember. I don't even remember what happened next. But he would just always tweet about me, and I'm just like, why are we tweeting? Isn't this a bit immature? Like,
why do you think he felt that way?
He calls me an idiot all the time. So yeah,
I think this is a little too much. Why? But why else? Why do you think he and I immediately got along? I'll give you a hint. Why do you think we immediately got along?
Well, I mean, he's been doing this stuff for like 20 years. Yeah.
So I read probably somewhere between 40 and 60 books a year.
Oh, wow.
There's nothing like he's the only human I've met in my life who reads as much on evolutionary psychology as me. And that includes PhDs. The reason why we got together and why it works so much, even though we disagree on certain things, like he's like, I would never vote for a female politician. I'm like, the lady who runs Las Vegas is pretty awesome. She was trying to get us back to work during the pandemic. She did a fucking awesome job. There's some exceptions, okay? Or in his case where he talks about like men and women could be friends. That was a big debating point for when we first met, right?
Yeah.
But because we kept this thing evidence-based, he and I got along really well, got famously. And the other thing is, when I presented evidence to him, like I took him to my birthday party and there were 50 girls there and they were all just like, we love Michael. And then like he saw the girls I was dating and all this kind of stuff. He was like, oh, okay, I see this now. Okay, now I didn't see it this way. Now I see this. And he was open to this idea. That's why it worked. The thing is, and this is what I asked him, I was like, hey, if Pearl read, and anybody wants to take notes on these, if Pearl read The Ape That Understood the Universe by Stephen Stewart Williams, and Pearl read The Evolution of Desire by David Buss, and Pearl read Why Women Have Sex by David Buss and Sidney Messon, and Pearl read When Men Behave Badly by David Buss, and Pearl read Mate by Joffrey Wilson, and Pearl read any of the books by Steven Pinker or Gad Saad, and Pearl read Why Beautiful People Have More Daughters by Satoshi Kanazawa. Do you think then you would still think she's a hack? And he's like, no. It's like at that point, she would have done the work. That's an extreme microcosm, but she would have done the work in order to have a conversation on that's what Rollo, and I don't want to put words in his mouth. And if Rollo disagrees with me, he can tweet it and say something, or not tweet it, do a super chat or say something. We'll read it. But for Rollo, what he respects is that people follow the evidence. When you had Nick Fuentes on and got yelled at because of it, whatever, semi-cancel, whatever, all the controversy, and then you said you didn't know who he was, Pearl, do you understand I did 30 hours of study before you came on here today? Right? I can't, I only have 50,000 subs. I have to do tons of work before someone comes on. And it felt like in your situation, you were talking about a lot of these things from anecdotal stuff. I love when you start talking about 40% of women have had 2 abortions. That's you quoting statistics. That's great. But like for him, in his standpoint, what he admires, I'll tell you right now, is the work, the study that's gone. I'll give you those 6 books. I guarantee you read those. Oh, last one's Alpha God by Hector Garcia. If you read those books, I promise you he'd be like, okay, now she's taking these ideas from the concept of evolutionary studies as opposed to, do you understand, when you just start saying things based on how you feel, how are you any different from The View or fucking Dr. Phil? The reason why we have no respect for those people as content creators is because they're just spewing either a political woke rhetoric or they're just talking about their fucking feelings. And for the reason why he respects Myron, for instance, is because Myron reads a ton. You see what I'm saying? That's what, I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I'm just telling you that's what, the way he would express it. Maybe he didn't do a good enough job expressing it. And I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying, because I want to see the two of you work together, to be honest with you. But that's what I would say. I don't know if you think that's fair.
Yeah, okay.
Does that make sense? Because I think the stuff you do is great. That's just where I'm coming from.
I mean, I think that he could have said that to me instead of going online. And I just think it's kind of immature. And I think it's really unprofessional to every time you have an issue with someone tweet about it. Instead of like, that was a conversation that could have maybe been had behind the scenes.
Right.
And
so here's the thing. I talked to him about it and I was like, I think you should work with her. And then he said you guys were talking on the phone, and then you did a live stream, and then he felt that Nick Fuentes just showing up on the fucking stream that he was on was a little unprofessional. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And then I looked for it, and you would pull that stream down.
Well, yeah, because I did it because he was like I thought he was mad, so that's why I pulled it because like for him like. Yeah. So like I was like, oh shit.
I think he thinks that you pulled it because Nick Fuentes said crazy shit. Yeah.
No,
so that's the first time I've heard this.
No, I did it because I
thought Rollo was mad.
Yeah, like I thought he was mad, and I was like, oh shit, like I didn't mean to, like I don't know.
Okay.
But he doesn't like believe me, so like. I don't know.
It's fine. It's fine. My whole thing is now look at it from two standpoints.
Yeah.
On the first standpoint, you from his standpoint, you said you're an entertainer. That's why I don't hold this against you.
Yeah.
You're saying you're an entertainer. From his standpoint, he felt like you didn't do the work. Again, Rollo, if I'm saying stuff you don't agree with, please like chime in. He felt like you didn't do the work. I just gave you 7-8 books to read. Okay. And additionally, when you have Nick Fuentes on the first time and people are offended, you say you didn't know that this was going to happen. You didn't do enough research. Like I said, well, I'm having Patrick Bet-David on in August. I will do, I'm not kidding, 50 hours on him. I will spend 2-3 weeks just studying up to, he was in the 101st Airborne. I have nothing but respect for that man. And so when
I didn't say I didn't know who he was. I said I didn't like know all of what he did. Sure. And so like sometimes like I feel like and sometimes and I think this is fair. I can do that on my own channel that I built, right?
For sure.
So,
you have the right to do it.
So I have like the right to bring someone on, and if I don't want like because I think that sometimes like you go into an interview, you already know everything about the person. Like I think what I really like bringing on YouTube is having a conversation like that you would have behind the scenes that's like in good faith.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you bring on someone that's like canceled, if you know every like bad thing they've said ever or whatever, like I just wanted like to go in with like an open mind, and that's what I was talking about. And I just think it's like, okay, if you don't like it, then do something else on your show.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think it's a valid viewpoint. I'm just trying to explain to you where he's coming from. And obviously, I wish he was having this conversation with you.
Yeah.
But that's where it happened. So, but the thing is, it's the first time with Nick, and then it happens again when he's on the show. Then all of a sudden Nick shows up. By the way, I'm not trying to do a gotcha. Well, I want you two to work together.
No, well, I mean, with Rollo, I mean, I told him that I was going to invite content creators on.
Yeah.
And like and so I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
And then he's super like, and I was like, oh shit. Like the only reason I pulled the stream was because someone messaged me during the stream and was like that this isn't good or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh shit. And so that was why I pulled it.
For sure. I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just.
But again, it's like it's kind of like why are we having this conversation on a live like now? You know, when we could have had this like Yeah.
Listen, I'm trying to be Jimmy Carter here. I'm trying to bring the people together. So
I mean, I've always been a fan of Rollo, and I just feel like no matter like it's very immature to always go to Twitter and always like posting every time you have an issue, and a lot of this stuff like I think it kind of makes the space look bad as a whole, to be honest, when you're like doing this. Yeah. We also,
I want to let you probably figure this out. We have very different personalities.
Yeah.
If you had done that to me, I would have been like, fuck yes. I would have been excited. And that's why I told Rollo, I was like, have me on sometime. Surprise the shit. Have 3 of my exes and fucking, some more criminal law. Yeah. Because I'm different. I'm just different like that. But I think in his standpoint, with Rollo, it's not just a question of his like the number of followers he has. There's a level of credibility that he has because of the books. And so whenever he goes on someone's show, he feels he's lending that credibility to that person. Does that make sense? So he lends, in his mind, the credibility. Again, Rollo, if I'm saying something you disagree with, let me know.
Yeah.
He's lending that credibility to you, and then you turn around and it's Nick Fuentes. You see what I'm saying? And Rollo, to me.
No, and I understood why he was mad. Like, I apologized, like, immediately.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, I pulled the stream because I was just like, oh God. Like, I was like, gosh, I'm so stupid. Like, I was literally after the stream.
Yeah.
I was on the phone. I was just like, I'm a freaking idiot.
Yeah.
Pulled it, was done. But it's like, I can't, like, when he's constantly thinking I'm like out to get him or whatever, it's just like, I know you guys, like, you guys had the whole 21, like, whatever, like, that whole, like, maybe not you, but everyone in the manosphere had that, like, big beef or whatever where people were turning on each other, but it's like,
the 21 convention with I forgot what the guy's name was.
And I don't really know what happened with it, but it's like I feel like I'm getting punished for something I didn't do.
Yeah.
And so it's like I've genuinely he's called me an idiot on stream. He's called, like, he has said like things that are so rude when literally I have only been trying, like, I just wanted him to mentor me.
Yeah. And
if he sat me down and said, oh, read this book, like, I probably would have had, like, yeah. And so, Like, he said something to me about reading his book Religion, and then I read it. Like, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm an audiobook person. I'm sorry. I know you guys are.
No. His audio. He actually, I think he told me he makes more money from the audiobooks than the other books. Yeah. I like audiobooks too. I think that's great.
So, yeah, I didn't even have an issue with him being like mad about the second time. I was like, okay, that was stupid. You're right. And yeah, but then it's like he runs to Twitter.
Yeah. It's
just like, and it's like immature. Like when it's like I'm the girl. Why I'm not the one tweeting.
Right. Sorry,
that was rude. I shouldn't have said that. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
But
don't worry about it being rude. I wanted you, and again, I don't know what the whole thing is. We've had a couple of conversations about this. I'm of the opinion I would like all of us to be able to work together. It's crazy, like some of these beefs. But the thing is, I don't come from the red pill community. Yeah. I come from that community. Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I would too. I've wanted nothing but to like work with him. Yeah. Like genuinely. But it's like I can't. It's like I can only do so much, you know. Right. So yeah.
Destiny. What do you think about Destiny?
Destiny's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found him. I actually was worried about him, like I said before, making like a bunch of ad hominem attacks. I actually really enjoyed debating.
Yeah, no, Destiny's all right.
I would actually like for us to find something we agree on and then debate against other people. I would like to do that with him because you know, obviously we don't see the things the same way.
Yeah,
it's really interesting because like I'm not bisexual. Nobody's touching my fucking girl. Like that's not happening, and he finds that to be acceptable, and so he loses credibility with red pill people because of that whole situation.
Well, and I think they shouldn't really attack him for what he does. Like it doesn't really matter what he does in his personal life, to be honest. But yeah, Destiny's fine.
Yeah, from what I understood, he spent before we did the debate. He didn't stream for 2 days. And from my understanding, he was preparing because he was going to go up against Rollo.
Yeah.
And Rollo is just like a fucking fountain. That
was a great debate.
Yeah.
That was great.
Encyclopedia Britannica. Like, he even blows me away, bro. He comes up with shit and like, I really try to keep up. In this one arena, I have a hard time keeping up with him. And this is my main thing. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the thing that's so impressive. I'm just explaining to you, that is what Rollo respects more than anything.
Yeah.
The people who'd put in the work intellectually. And that's also why like he's not as politically conservative as some of the other people in this space. And that's generally when you just stick to the facts, you find that tends to be the case. Does that make sense? All right, so let's keep going here with this. Destiny I thought was interesting. The other thing I wanted to know was the thing I actually love that you put on was the worst guest compilations on your channel. That was fucking awesome.
Yeah, freaking Esther.
Yeah,
that's my least favorite. Yeah.
So what specifically makes a bad guest?
Honestly, I didn't actually put that together. Someone else did, but I know Esther's my least favorite because she kept pulling. She's been on my show 3 times, and she would go on the show and then call me racist, and then go on the show again, but I'm like, why do you keep? If I'm so horrible,
well, you keep coming on.
Yeah. But she was bad because one, if they overtalk you, and 2, if they what do you call it? You know, I think it's like the one lady when she was like threatening my talent. I think that was probably the worst. Or they refused to leave. I think that's pretty bad. But mostly just over talking when it's like it's not your show, crazy lady.
Yeah.
I'm not actually the best with that. I actually let people get away with like way more than I should on my show. I think it's actually like my worst. It's interesting. I do so many shows, but I think it's like my worst thing as a content creator is like keeping like a room calm.
You know what Rollo does? It's really funny. He goes, "It's a microphone. We can hear you."
Yeah.
He says that shit is so fucking funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's pretty funny. I have an issue with that. So like Myron's I think the best traffic cop there is. Like he really
Myron's great.
Yeah.
He's phenomenal.
And I was like, man, I think he's like hard on them until I had a girl who was an astrologer come on here and just start screaming at me. And all I could think of was like, yeah, I wish I would just kick this girl off. Like I couldn't believe like how incredibly disrespectful they got. And I was just like, man, it is crazy.
No, and actually, I used to think the same thing. I thought Myron was like so mean on the show. I was like, he's so overly aggressive.
Until you start doing
it. Because what they do is like, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Yeah. And actually, before I left, oh my gosh, I just had done so many shows. I think before I left, I was being way too lenient because it's like, if you give them too much, it completely derails the conversation and you can't keep them on topic and it just kind of ruins the show.
Yeah, I noticed that same thing. I've never been screamed at like that before. I'm like, I let you on my fucking platform.
Yeah.
And this is what you're doing. There were a couple of things. I'll tell you 2 pieces of hypocrisy that I love about these variety shows. Okay. Number 1, are the girls who talk shit about you and then want to come on the show so that they can get pub on it, right? And they're basically just trying to use you for clout. And number two are the guys who call girls 304s and then you ask them the next day, hey, so do you remember Stephanie Palomares? You remember Stephanie Palomares? She was on the Wednesday show of Fresh and Fit. She sent me a screenshot. 1,200 new paid subscribers the next day. 1,200 at $10 a piece. That is $12,000 a month that she makes. That's over like $144,000 a year she made from doing 3 hours of Fresh and Fit getting yelled at the whole time. But you guys called her a 304 and now she's got $140,000 because of it. So there's you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing.
Isn't that crazy though?
Yeah. And I've never had a screenshot like that. I don't know if
every time I have girls come on, I was like, hey, after the show, I want you to tell me, like, especially when they're the ones getting attacked, I want you to screenshot before and then after. Because here's the thing. You want to call them 304s, whatever.
Yeah. But
then you need to prove you're not a simp. You see what I'm saying? It's like they're masturbating while calling them 304s.
Yeah.
Like looking at their OF content. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's two schools of thought here, right? One of them is let's teach these women a lesson.
Right.
Fuck these 304. I got hurt at some point. Let's teach them a lesson. This is the other one. I want to get better with women and richer and in better shape. I'm only interested in this one.
Yeah.
I have no interest in this one. At all. This doesn't do anything. Access Vegas is the reason why we started the show. I have no interest in this one. Only this one. The guys who call those girls names, I get it. I understand why they're doing it. But like every time you call them a 304, let's do a push-up. Can we do that? You have some big old fucking arms if you did that shit. That's my whole point. Is like I'm way more interested in like what men can do to be fucking awesome.
Yeah. Because
the likelihood of you when you say things like women, we need to improve. How many of them are really going to improve?
Probably. It's actually interesting. I've had a couple girls tell me they lost like a bunch of weight because not many, not a high percentage. Like just being honest, like what percent of people improve? Let's just say all together. But
agreed.
Yeah.
I'm just so much more on the positive, and because of that, like I don't ever think my shit is ever going to go viral or blow up, or I don't know if I'll ever even have 100,000 subs because I want to make it about this,
right?
And I want to make it about you improving, and that's not as interesting as the fucking Illuminati. It's not as interesting as like these girls are all like all hoes. You understand what I'm saying? And I don't do gotcha shit. I just don't think it's quite as interesting. Let's talk about this because I think it's really important. You talk about women voting. Okay.
Yes.
Your beliefs about it. I don't know if you jokingly think. What's your view on women voting just in general? I'll let you explain it.
Yeah, I don't think we should vote unless we're in selective service.
Okay.
And if I had to pick, I would give that shit up so fast.
Right, because you don't have to join the military. Hey, well, I will tell you, there's a lot of really good jobs for women in the military.
Yeah, I'm good on them. I'm good.
You wouldn't want to be like a C-130 pilot?
No, I do not want to do that. Really? No, I do not.
You want to be a veterinarian for the Army?
Well, and I think that like if...
Work in finance? No?
I'm good. Well, I mean, I don't think that's like fair, to be honest, because it's like, well, you're voting for your commander in chief. So the men are the ones that are going to be on the front lines.
Yeah, for sure.
And it switched my opinion on this because I couldn't figure out, I heard like women didn't want to vote. And I was like, what? Why wouldn't we want to vote? And everyone said it was because of the military, but that's not true. If you look at the anti-suffragettes writings, they're talking about it's the beginning of the breakdown of the family.
Okay.
And that's what happened. Because before it was like in and it's tough because we're in a society that like is like, so I'm not saying this would work today, but I just think like you're supposed to be like, two are supposed to become one in marriage. You're supposed to have one vote. And I think that was the beginning of like the breakdown of the family.
So what you're saying is we're talking about the 1920s, 1910s.
Yeah. I'm not saying this would work today.
The anti-suffragette, for those of you who don't know, these are the women who wanted suffrage for women.
Yeah.
Suffrage meaning the ability to vote.
Yeah.
And when they do so, their supposition is that if we do this, it's going to break up the family.
Yeah.
And then the family does get broken up. Now, I don't know if we can make a one-to-one correlation between the two things. I think we might have a better job of doing that with, like, say, welfare. Welfare might have a better.
I don't think it was the only thing, but I think it was the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Do you think, from a legal standpoint, are you agnostic as to whether or not women should vote, or do you think women should not be able to vote? Do you have, like, would you say it to a extent of, I just don't really care, or let's actually repeal the 19th Amendment?
Oh gosh, I don't think that's going to happen. I think it should be like net taxpayers is probably a more realistic answer.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's like, I just think if you, like the way our society's built, like families are, like marriage is deteriorating. So
Yes,
I guess
it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
So net taxpayers probably makes sense going forward. I just don't think it makes sense. Like, why does somebody that lives on the system get a say in it? Like if you're paying 100% of the bills,
you're a net negative to the system. So why do you have a voice? Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Got it.
yes. That's probably my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, there are, just to play devil's advocate here, there are societies throughout history. I believe you had to be part of the military to vote in Sparta, right?
Yeah.
If we go back that far,
Yeah.
women could not vote in, like, say, ancient Rome.
Yeah.
And then there were certain instances in, like, even more recent times where you had to be a property owner.
Yeah.
You had to own land in order to be able to vote, right?
I could get behind property owner. I don't know if, like, it's funny I talk about it, but I just think, like, we don't talk about the double standard. That's more of my point.
Which double standard?
Which is that men are fined, like, I think it's either $250,000 or $300,000 if they're not enlisted in selective service.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that's fair.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah,
okay.
so that's more of my point when I say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but you're not, like, pro repealing the 19th Amendment. It's just sort of like agnostic, or one of the things, like, because it's really funny listening to you talk to Nick Fuentes, and he's like, yeah, women shouldn't be able to vote. And you're like, yeah, I kind of agree with it. Like, okay, Pearl, how are you going to get out of this one? Explain this.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think I just don't think it's realistic nowadays.
Right.
Like, I don't think it'll actually happen.
Yeah.
So I think net taxpayers is probably a better solution moving forward.
Got it. And then additionally, as far as that's concerned, the majority of voters now are women. Mm-hmm. And do you think that that's had an effect overall as far as policy is concerned?
Yeah, because that's what the guys were saying in the UK, because I couldn't figure out why these, like, custody laws wouldn't change. This is actually how it kind of went full circle for me, because I was researching, like, the custody laws, and I was like, well, how can we, like, switch these laws? These are crazy. Like, this is insane.
Yeah.
When I'm, like, interviewing these guys, they're talking about, like, committing suicide. I'm like, this is crazy. Why? Like, this should be such a simple law.
Yeah.
Like, this is so unfair. Why don't they change it? But all the politicians have to cater to the women, and women are more susceptible to propaganda. So I actually think that women, when we got the right to vote, it was like a way for them to control, like, the population more, because they knew they could. That in the 1920s, that was when radio started becoming more prevalent. So it was a way, like, they could influence, like, the nation, basically. So yeah, that's.
You've also made comments about purchasing power with women.
Yeah, 70 to 80% of consumer buying decisions.
Consumer buying comes from women. So your belief was that you see companies catering to that.
Yeah.
More often, and then I've heard Myron actually say something to the effect of, like, well, that's the reason, like, women were more easy to be manipulated.
Yeah.
And so that's the reason.
Well, you'll see it before an election. Like, they'll do some abortion campaign with some, like, super extreme scenario that never happens, and now we have to go to the polls and vote. It's like we just get emotional.
Okay, cool. I don't know enough about this to say anything.
Yeah.
The first time I actually heard about it was recently. I wasn't even aware about 70 to 80% of consumer purchasing power coming through women. So that's an interesting thing you guys are talking about there. And the other thing is, this is another thing I thought was really interesting, is you talked about a man cheating one time.
Yeah.
And then whether or not a woman would leave him, and, like, the willingness of women to stay in a marriage.
Yeah.
What are your opinions on that before?
Oh, I think cheating is wrong. I don't think lying is okay.
Okay.
So I'm not, people always think that I'm pro-cheating.
I have the exact same problem with me. Yeah.
I am not I don't like liars. Okay.
Okay.
So don't lie, wrong. However, I saw, and it's hard with the divorce stats, because I've been looking this up, but there's so many different, like, reasons for the divorce. Like, you'll look at the top 5 reasons, and they're different from, like, because they're from.
So just so people understand, there's client-attorney privilege.
Yeah.
In a divorce. So the actual reason is something we don't actually know the whole time. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So you can't say, for instance, you could say women are saying, well, I'm getting divorced because of cheating.
Yeah.
When in reality, she was the one cheating. It doesn't matter, because you're never going to know, because you don't have the right to know because of attorney client privilege.
Well, the things that I've seen, the surveys or whatever, it's like either, I saw one that was up to 40% of marriages end because of infidelity.
Okay.
Maybe it's 20%, whatever. Okay. My thing is, as women, we need to think about, like, what are you going to do if this happens? And knowing that these are the stats for the kids. If your kid grows up in a single mother home, because more likely than not, like, you're going to get custody, like, they're more likely to go to prison, they're more likely to be abused by, like, the stepdad.
So the world gets worse because you leave your husband.
Yes.
Because statistically, the people who end up going to jail or committing these crimes come from single parent households. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I just think like the goal always should be to try to work it out. That should just always be the default, try to work out cheating. And then I looked up, there's like a study that said like what percent, I mean, it's so hard because cheating, it's like self-reported.
Of course.
But what percent are actually serial cheaters? They said like 3%. And like the majority of the time it's like 85 or 80% of the time it's a one-time thing. So it's like, if the majority of the time cheating's a one-time thing, and even if they're lying, let's just say it's only half the time, maybe the default should be to try to work it out. And I have also talked to men that like they don't talk about that, men are in sexless marriages and that's why they cheat.
Yes.
They don't talk about, maybe you made his life such a living hell at home. Like, if you're going home and there's all these hot women trying to sleep with you and she's making your life a living hell at home, it's like you might be more likely to do it. Like we take no accountability for that position. And my opinion in life is everything's your own fault.
Okay.
Everything in life is your own fault.
Extreme ownership. Jocko Willink.
Yeah. And so I just think maybe you should look at how you contributed to the situation. And like, honestly, like I've been cheated on before and like I could say I contributed to the situation. And so it's like, I just believe in accountability. Like everything is your fault.
Would you have worked it out in your personal situation?
I did.
Okay.
I mean, I left for like other reasons later, but I did. And yeah, so I just think that everything is your fault. I think the goal should always be to keep families together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me give a good piece of advice to people. Everything is not your fault, but you need to treat it like it's your fault because nobody else is coming to fucking save you. Right? That's what we say in the military. It's like when it's not your fault, you're still the commander. You're the one who's going to get the demerit. Doesn't make any difference. If it wasn't your fault, if the co-pilot doesn't put the gear down, the pilot is still dead when you guys crash into the ground. Even when it's not your fault, it's still your fault. If you guys take that attitude throughout your whole life, even when that's what the whole book Extreme Ownership is by Jocko Willink and the book Dichotomy of Leadership, Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, that is the best attitude to have. Forget about the conspiracies or what else is going out there. You need to take ownership for the fact that if you are out of shape and you are not financially where you want to be, you have to take responsibility for that. It makes no difference. The Illuminati is a fucking cope. The Rothschilds are a cope. Regardless of if they're real, you got to do the work to get where you want to get. That's the whole thing. And the funny thing is the guys who are propagating those arguments, they're busting their ass doing streams. They're busting their ass selling merchandise. They're literally an example of what I'm saying. So like you have to take advantage because nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's, men or women, nobody's coming to save you. Can I ask you about two more people? Jesse Lee Peterson. Man, he's one of my favorite people.
He's so funny. I liked him.
I don't agree with anything the motherfucker says, and I can't stop watching him. He's incredible.
He's so funny. Oh my God, that man's hilarious.
He is.
Yeah, I like him. He's cool.
He's great. I mean, but when he says there is no such thing as racism and there wasn't a such thing, I believe that in certain cases it's definitely overblown. But the idea that like all these black people were hung in the 1950s because of brotherly love is just utterly ridiculous.
Yeah, I was not with that. I was like, keep me out of that one. No.
Yeah, that's crazy. I can't wait to have him on. At first I was like angry, and then after a while I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of fun. Like I get it.
Yeah, I mean, you can get angry. People just have their opinions. Yeah. Like what's the point of getting angry? Yeah.
I think he just uses different words for things, but at some of the time I just feel like he's saying things. Yeah, the idea of racism has never existed, I think, is a little absurd. Because his whole thing was, do you know people willing to kill other people just because of their race? And I'm like, Jesse, if it's 98% because of their race and 2% because they were loud at night, that's still fucking racism, dude. I'm sorry. You still killed someone.
Yeah.
And so that's the only issue. I hope to talk to him sometime because I just find him so fucking entertaining.
He's so funny.
Is that what he said? It's so, like the reactions that people get when he starts saying this stuff.
He was asking me certain questions. He's like, what do you say? He said, should we have more white babies? I'm like,
he goes, have you forgiven your mother yet? Have you forgiven your black mothers? Because black mothers are taking us away from Jesus Christ. I'm like, oh my God.
I was like, God, Jesse, please, yes. Jesse, keep me out.
At first I was like, no. And then after a while, it's like just the guy who keeps jacking up half-court shots and they go in. You're like, okay, Jesse, just keep going. Watch Jesse cook.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't take him seriously, but I actually find him to be like really entertaining.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. Again, I'm not for... one of the things I never got to say to Sneeko when we were on the thing is I disagree with him being deplatformed. I had a super problem with that, even though he said things I don't agree with. I don't agree with him being deplatformed.
I genuinely believe in freedom of speech.
Of course.
I'm gonna continue to bring on people that have been kicked off. I actually want to do a whole panel with everybody that's been kicked off.
By the way, I don't want you to think I have a problem with you bringing Nick Fuentes on. I'm glad you brought Nick Fuentes. If Benito Mussolini was still alive, I'd have him sitting right there. For sure, of course. I don't have an issue with that. My whole point before was, Rollo didn't expect it. That was the only thing.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, that makes sense. One other is Kevin Samuels.
Oh my gosh, I freaking loved Kevin Samuels.
Yeah.
I just thought he was great. I thought the way he did his show was amazing. I thought he was so creative and yeah, I thought he was awesome.
He was great.
Yeah.
One of my good friends, CJ Sparks, got to spend an hour with him. And he started explaining to her this concept of like, you're still really attractive, but you're in your late 30s and you're in this place where like you can get a hot enough man to have sex with you, but not to commit. And he called it pretty prison. Sorry, you said I'm going to step on. Pretty prison. So the concept of like, and this is where a lot of the delusion comes from, is like a woman can get this guy to have sex with her, but not to commit. And she can get this guy to commit, but she's not attracted to him. And what happens is she starts believing this is what she can get to commit.
Yeah.
Because that's what social media has told her she deserves. And then what happens is as she stays up here and does not get one guy to commit, and after one or two power forwards and a couple of Major League Baseball pitchers run through her, then once she gets to this point and she comes to the realization she can't get this guy to commit, the guy who she tries to get to commit later is like, oh, I have to settle for this after you've been with 30 guys, 40 guys, 50 guys. Jesus. I have to wait.
Yeah.
The Sheryl Sandberg quote.
Yeah.
It's like later on, wait, because the guy who takes out the trash is going to seem sexy.
Well, yeah. Actually, I met with him twice. Yeah, I met with him. He told me to break up with my ex-boyfriend.
Yeah?
Yeah, he did. And then I met with him again about my channel, and he told me that it was terrible.
What do you mean? He didn't like your channel?
Well, he liked it. Well, it was funny. One time he told me, he's like, you have a multi-million-dollar business on your hand. And I was like, wow, thanks, Kevin. And then the next time I saw him, he was like, what are you doing with your channel? and yeah.
What was the specific criticism?
I was too random. And I was too, he was just like, you don't know enough about YouTube. And because I didn't even know YouTube was a search engine.
Yeah.
He's like, how do you not know this? I'm like, I don't know, Kevin. I'm just out here, Yeah. But yeah, and then he gave me some tips to improve it. And then I did. So
that's nice.
Because that was at I don't know, 15, 20,000 subs. So
can you tell me what your technique is now? You have 2 clips channels. You have your main channel.
Oh, I got more than that.
Well, how many? What do you have now?
I can't even count. I don't know.
So are you putting these? Do you have affiliates? Are you people you're paying? Like how? What for? There's a lot of people looking at your meteoric rise and would like to know. And even though meteoric rise, I've seen
a lot of people copy this idea in the space.
Dude, I will copy it in 2 fucking seconds and tell you about it.
Yes, you should. You should.
All right. So my question is, you've had this rise also in spite of the fact you've been demonetized on several platforms, lost your TikTok. What are some of the things that you've learned? What are the things you're doing, and what are the things you learned?
My system was outsourced immediately.
Okay.
So that was my system was, it's crazy. Everyone's like, oh, she's making all this money. I was like, I paid people before I paid myself. I kept $0 for probably the first 6 months of my channel.
Yeah.
So the first thing, I wanted to create a system where I could just sit down and talk and I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
So the first thing I got was a producer. I don't care about equipment. Don't want to know it that much. I used to do it all myself to start. To start, you have to do it yourself unless you got money.
Yeah.
And it's actually good to know it. Then
you are not lying.
Yeah, it's actually good to know it so you know what to hire for.
Yeah.
So I'm actually glad I started. But I did get, I call him a manager, but he's more of a consultant. So he gives me channel strategy. I've had him for 3 years, so this is before I was even big.
Okay.
But I wanted someone that knew what they were doing with YouTube. So I just found someone, I gave them a huge cut of my channel, and I was just like, let's go. Because at that point I was making no money off of it, so I didn't even care. Then after the producer, I got clippers, and clippers are just people, they do, and I gave you
send me one.
Yeah,
I have one of your clippers.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and so there's title, thumbnail, and so their whole job is just to go on stream, pull clips, pull shorts, pull whatever you're trying to do.
Have you seen the AI software that can do this now? It's unbelievable.
I mean, you should send it my way. I have not seen it.
I
have not seen it. And so then, we have a team of editors. So those are just their job is the reaction to, or the street interviews or wife school. So their job is the clippers. They're less. They're the only shit they have to do for editing is zooming in or whatever. Sure. The editors are their job is full. Yeah.
How many clippers do you have? How many editors do you have?
Well, remember, I have a network, so it's not just me. So what I did was I signed people and I let them go into my system. So like Auntie Jenny got like 40,000 subs in like 2-3 months. King Richie's also got 40,000 subs, 50,000 in a couple months.
Yeah.
So so I think total we have maybe, I don't know, 6 editors. At one point we had 10 clippers, but we had to dial back because they weren't all making money. So that's how I gave some away. And then, oh gosh, I don't know, 2 producers, because we do shows 6 nights a week.
Yeah.
Just between the talents. So I think we do.
Do you see any drop off with that much content that you're putting out? Like, is there a limit to too much? If you double,
yes.
So what's that inflection point?
I don't know. I mean, we were doing. I think we had 30 clips a day at one point. Yeah. So at one point we had 10 like 8 to 10 minute or 8 to 20 minute clips and 20 shorts a day. So I think we did kind of oversaturate. We definitely oversaturated them. We're kind of drawing back now. I don't know where the drop off was, but when you're doing, and that was just on the main channel. Yeah. So we were doing 10 clips and 20 shorts on the main channel a day. And then on the other channels, we also had like 10 clips on each one. So I think we maybe had over 100 pieces of content a day.
It's crazy.
Yeah, because I found out this cheat code now everyone's onto it, but I found out you can get like, cheaper, like basically, I mean, you can get like deals on people that do clips because that's their only job, right? Yeah. And so, I would say the meteoric rise was 100 pieces of content a day.
Insanity.
Yeah. And I think I was the first one kind of like that. Because I was just thinking, all right, this is what I would do. I would add 10 clips and I would keep making more money and getting more views. So I was like, let me keep. I noticed an oversaturation though, I would say in like December, November, where I was like, each clip is like, I think. So now we're trying to draw back a little.
So what would you say you're doing now? How many? Like 6 a day?
On the main channel, I think it's a bit too hard for viewers to navigate. So I think we're actually going to maybe just do like 3 a day clips, but then just maybe push those to
somebody had
shorts though. I would keep doing. I do 20 a day. I will not stop on shorts.
Wow, 20 a day.
Yeah, that's why everyone was saying I bought subs. It was so offensive. I was like, these people are so old. I was like, I'm so tired of these old people. No offense, don't understand how YouTube works. I'm like, because I came from TikTok, and I think shorts are the future. Yeah, that's just my opinion. I think they're gonna find a way to monetize shorts the same way. Like when I was on TikTok, people were making $200K a brand deal. Yeah. So whenever advertisers come to YouTube, it is over. They're not really here on the shorts game, but I get 50 to 100 million views a month. Like a lot of those are shorts. So I'm like, whenever advertisers, get a little thing in the corner, it's over with.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. So 20 a day on shorts.
That's what I do. Yes.
Do you have a TikTok now?
No, I mean, I have accounts like that they run that are just like reposting clips from the main. No, they banned my 5th account. So I think I'll get another one probably.
I lost my first one because I was posting a lot of stuff like lifestyle stuff, me at bikini competitions, stuff like that. So the next one I just did podcast stuff. I don't do anything with podcast stuff. Me on other podcasts, and I clip it and I do that kind of stuff. And that one grew way faster than any of the other ones. Like meaning YouTube and Instagram. But I don't trust the views. I'll be honest with you. Because I run ads on all 3 platforms, and Instagram is 20 times better than the other 2.
That's interesting because a lot of people come up to me and say they saw me on Instagram almost more than TikTok. Yeah. And it's interesting because
I think TikTok is grossly overinflating some of the
You think
views.
so?
I got 38 million impressions last month.
Yeah.
I'm nobody. I got 38 million impressions last month. That doesn't make any fucking sense. And where's the conversion in my, you know what I'm saying?
It's interesting because we don't really even post on Instagram like that. So, and I get people all the time. I think it's because they pull my clips.
Just to let people know. So I run ads on all 3 platforms. Okay. On TikTok, it's nothing. I'm going to get almost no interactions whatsoever. On YouTube, I get about 30% return on investment. So for every $1,000 I spend, I make $1,300 from selling my program. Oh. On Instagram, it is 26 to 1. Every $1,000 I put into Instagram, I get $26,000 back. We scaled my company. We're doing $50,000 a month. Last month we did $540,000 in revenue. Yeah. A month. from Instagram ads. So that's what I found. From my standpoint as a content creator, I feel like, because I don't make my money from AdSense. I make my money from selling a coaching program.
Yeah.
So that's why it's different. That's why I have a much more niche audience.
Yeah. And
I don't try to do gotcha videos. And at some point I'm probably going to do reaction videos with Spencer Cornelia. He and I are going to start doing stuff together.
Oh, I like him.
Yeah,
I like his videos. They're good.
Yeah, he and I go to we go to I wish you were in town. Every Tuesday, all the content creators in Vegas, we all go to town, go to dinner together.
Oh, no way. That's fun.
Let's talk about this. You discussed maybe moving to Vegas.
It's possible. I like it here more than I thought. I don't like the degeneracy.
Okay.
So I was like, I don't think I'll like it. But I like how much space there is.
Lots of that.
Yeah, and I do actually like the heat. I think I would burn a lot, but I hate cold. But yeah,
Dude, November in fucking London. God, bro, it felt like Alaska. It's this biting wet cold that just gets in your clothes, man. It's cold.
I actually hate London. I'm actually mad I ended up there because
of the semi-pro stuff you were doing.
It was supposed to be a year, and then I was offered a pro contract in the fall.
Okay.
So I was actually supposed to move to like Portugal or Germany or something, and I was ready to go, and then the YouTube stuff, and it's like, what are you gonna?
Of course.
What are you gonna pick? And so. Yeah, and then it was honestly everything. I was just hiring people so fast, like so many people, and everything just got so big so fast.
And it was there, so you just stayed there.
Correct. But my plan is I am moving. I'd like to keep an office though in London, so I'd like to keep the talents that I signed there, working. Yeah, whatever.
So on behalf of the Board of Tourism, let me give you a couple of pluses. You will find that people in Los Angeles, when they film their podcast, often come to Vegas to film their podcast. They'll film several episodes and then they'll go back to Los Angeles. Los Angeles, it is so cost prohibitive to park, to travel. All the buildings are old and fucking rotting.
Yeah.
LA is garbage.
I won't be in LA.
Okay,
That's not even on the list.
Cool. In Vegas, you'll notice that everything here is newer. There's not as much traffic. There's not a humidity. And the thing is, companies are moving here. There's about 2.6 million people that live here in the bowl. In Las Vegas, literally means the meadows in Spanish, and we're surrounded by mountains. Next door to us is the UFC headquarters. There's a bunch of companies. Pepsi has a headquarters right next door to this building where we are right now. Mm-hmm. It's just a cleaner environment with less traffic. And when you have if you want big guests, Elon Musk comes to Vegas twice a year. It doesn't matter how big you want to get. Joe Rogan comes here for fights. The biggest guest you could ever want, they're gonna pay for themselves to come fly here. But they're not necessarily going to do that in London, and often they're not going to be able to come to where you are in Los Angeles. As far as having guests on a podcast, one of the reasons why I've been able to punch above my weight so much and get bigger guests than somebody who has 50,000 subs is because I'm here. That is the main reason. You when you came here, drive up, park wherever you want, no traffic, come right on in. Podcast studio, affordable price, fucking full bar, drinks, everything like that.
That's the thing. It's cheap here because we're looking at Miami too, and I'm like, it is much cheaper here.
Miami is a time. I love Miami, but it's a time and money suck. You're stuck in traffic trying to go from midtown to downtown or midtown to Brickell, and then the other thing is just the cost of doing things.
Yeah.
You'll notice Myron. For those of you who don't know, that's Myron's apartment. That's where he films that thing, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with Brian in Santa Clara or Santa Barbara. That's his apartment where he's filming that shit, right? We have a studio here, and my production team is going to give me a live edit right after this.
Yeah.
These guys are the best here. People who come here say this is the best podcast studio they've ever been to in their life. Sticky paws, just because of the professionalism. We are all a family here. So I will tell you that, and then the last one, there's no state income tax here.
That's nice.
Yeah. So you're paying, if you make $1 million a year, you're paying $130,000 less than if you lived in California.
Yeah. The cities we're looking at, Vegas, Nashville.
Nashville's good. Yeah.
Miami. And I might just live in Chicago, but have the office somewhere else.
Yeah.
But because I'm I don't know if I'd want but we'll see.
I will tell you, as far as getting guests to come in real life, Vegas will be number one over any city in the United States.
Really?
Miami would be number two, yes. Because people go to Miami once a year. Everyone kind of goes there for something, or in
That's
Florida.
That's true, yeah.
But everyone, this is the tourism capital of Earth. 44 million people come here every year. People, it's hey, yeah, I'm in Vegas. Do you want to come by? The trip is, they'll write the fucking trip off. They'll entertain clients. They'll do content. They'll write everything off, and they'll come out here. I'm again, Mayor Goodman, I'm doing this one for you. This is the easiest city I've ever seen to throw a podcast. It's just night and day because everyone comes here to visit. Everyone. So that's why I would say, that's why I would give you this one.
Yeah.
As far as the degeneracy, just go live in Henderson and Summerlin. You'll never see it.
Okay.
Yeah, if you go live in Summerlin, Summerlin's this nice neighborhood full of like churches and gyms.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah,
that's what I've heard.
You'll never see it.
I actually, this wasn't as bad as when I came here a couple of years ago. I haven't seen, they used to have those like naked girl pictures they would hand out. Maybe I just haven't seen it, but.
They may have gotten rid of that, yeah.
There was a lot more nudity when I came here a couple of years ago. Like I was like, it's actually not as bad as I remember.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe it's growing up.
Yeah, the Strip is not Vegas. The Strip is in the city of Paradise. Vegas is north of that. It's like Fremont Street.
Oh,
That's
okay.
actually the city of Las Vegas. We're a bunch of unincorporated towns. Like Summerlin isn't actually a city, but has a county commissioner that's its mayor, and then everything in this like the city of North Vegas was just created to put homeless people there. Like all the homeless people in the county go to this one area.
Don't you think it's just going to become crowded when people move here from LA?
I think Austin is already on the trajectory of like everyone figured out that place was awesome to live in. I used to live in Austin for 9 years. Nashville is next, and then Vegas after that.
Oh, okay.
I think those three cities are the ones where like people are starting to figure out it's cool.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of like elites move to that city. Vegas, people are going to figure out that if you lived in Austin 25 years ago, it was so fucking fun. I cannot express it. Now Austin has turned into one giant Starbucks. If you look at what Austin was 20 years ago, that's what Vegas is now. If you're a local here, you get treated like a king. Free shows, dinner, like comp dinners everywhere you go, like fucking any nightclub you want to go. It's just incredible living here. I love living here. I don't know what music you listen to. Go see them like live on stage.
Country. I'm a country
there
music fan.
Yeah, country music. Go watch them at T-Mobile Arena. I'll take you. My friend owns a box. Just walk right up. Like literally, like I walk from my apartment into T-Mobile Arena. Just crazy. This is the best way to describe Vegas. This is the easiest city I've ever lived in. Easiest to eat, easiest to park, easiest to do anything I've ever lived in my life.
How is it for like a family, that sort of thing?
So the only issue that I would say there is as far as like the private education system here is not great.
Okay.
That's the only thing that I've heard. The crime, again, for those of you who don't know, it's a dirty little secret. Oscar Goodman put every homeless person in the county in fucking North Vegas. If you ever drive North Vegas up to like Chico's Bonitas, up in that area, you will see what looks like Skid Row in Los Angeles. There's no homeless people anywhere else. And so because of that, crime is not tolerated in the city because of tourism. Tourism comes before anything else in Las Vegas. And so what you'll see is a lot of times they'll sweep things under the rug. Like nobody commits suicide in a hotel in Vegas. They're taken out to Koval and pronounced dead out on the street. Like there's some things like that. But as far as like crime and like growing a family here, I know a lot of people who do it. The only thing I would say is probably private school. That's the only thing I would say.
Oh, like you have to send them to private?
You don't have to, but the public school system here is not great, but it's not great in Los Angeles either.
I mean, I know everyone's got their thoughts on Catholic school, I know, but I actually think it was a great thing, and I thought
it was good. And for you to go to Catholic
for
school.
Me, and it wasn't like... I think the Catholic schools they're talking about must have just been more in the cities or whatever, because we had no teen pregnancy, like none. I don't know. I went. Me and a friend, like one went to public school, one went to Catholic school, and my brother had the same thing. Literally, our ACTs, like mine was 5 points higher than her, and we started with the same grades.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
5 points. That's a lot.
Yeah.
5 points on ACT. You know what that's a very big difference.
Yeah. Do you go out at all? Like now? Like I'm just curious. Like your dating life now. You don't have to get too personal here, but like, do you go to are you a bar? Do you want to go to a country place? You want to go to Stoney's, the country bar over here? Like what?
Honestly, the past year, the past year has just been crazy.
Yeah.
Like you remember, I'm just doing semi-pro because I'm just someone when I start something, I have to finish it. Like I can't quit.
What is it like playing semi-pro basketball and people know who the fuck you are? How's that?
Oh well. I mean, the girls didn't really like it, to be honest. It's a lot of feminine. I mean, semi-pro volleyball. I was this year, the year before I did basketball. This year I just did volleyball. But it was crazy. Like you don't understand. And that's why when Rollo was like, oh well, why didn't you do all this research before? I'm like, I just drove to a volleyball game on the other side of the country. We just drove 5 hours to a game, drove 5 hours back, and now I'm doing a show because the shows were like at 9:30 at night. So I was always coming from like volleyball. Do you know what I mean? So thank God that was over. I was so excited because I'm just someone Mike, when I start something, I have to finish it. It's just who I am as a person. I can't quit mid-season. I know.
I'm just trying to imagine you doing a stream with 1 million people watching and then like getting 1 million views and then driving across the country to play in a game where like you are far and away the most recognized person on the team, on either team or in the audience.
Yes. But the girls hated my stuff. So it was kind of awkward sometimes because I'd be like, da, 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 and then they'd be like, they would all like talk about what I like talked about on the show or whatever.
Were they friendly about it or were they actually being mean? Like, did they not give you the ball in the post?
Well, again, this is for volleyball.
Yeah, oh, sorry, volleyball. Yeah,
no, I mean, I was one of the best ones like on the team, if I'm being honest. Towards the end of season, I kind of didn't play the best because I was so tired. But since like I've had more of a life since season ended, but like, oh my gosh, that like 7-8 month period was just insane. Like I was, because remember, like volleyball, I was like, you have 3 practices a week. Or 3 or 4 practices a week. No. Games twice a week. Practice 4 days a week. So it's like 6 days a week. I'm coming. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. It was crazy. But it's over. Thank you, God. Like I'm done. We're done.
Is there any video? I want to see you playing volleyball.
Yeah, there's there's videos on. I just released a vlog of it, and then I reacted. There's footage from college. So I reacted to.
I want to see you play basketball.
I'm so down. We could even like do a 1-on-1.
Dude, 100%. When you come in next time, because there's 2 basketball courts in my building.
Oh yeah, I'm so down. I'm so down.
Okay, so
I used to beat my ex-boyfriend at basketball. I forgot you have to let him win. You know,
Listen, if you beat me, like I'm probably gonna lose my channel. I'm gonna be playing hard as a motherfucker.
I'm very competitive.
I'm trying to dunk on Pearl.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted. I'm trying to dunk on Pearl.
No, it's like, oh shit, I'm a feminine woman. I was like, I'll let you win. No, but I can't. I'm too competitive.
Good. That's what I want to see. We're going at it. We're gonna break the fucking internet. We do that. All right. So here's the thing. I want to tell you what I believe is probably the single worst piece of advice I see women giving other women.
Okay?
It is when a woman gets ghosted and her friends tell her, no, girl, he ghosted you because he was intimidated. Listen to that word, intimidated by your height, intimidated by your opinions, intimidated by the money you make, intimidated by your personality. And my response to that is, I don't like pickles on my fucking hamburger. That doesn't mean I'm intimidated by them. I don't like pickles. I don't sleep on a bed of rocks. I bought a comfortable bed. Because I like a comfortable bed does not mean I'm intimidated by rocks. I have a preference for a comfortable bed. And so I hear women consistently saying this concept of intimidated when no, men have a preference for your nature that makes you not attractive to them. You talk about this.
Oh yeah. I think that's stupid. Like, I don't know why.
I feel like these women aren't their friends. Like that's your friend. If your friend is telling you this, hey girl, if your homegirl comes up to you and say like, you might want to lose some weight, that's your homegirl. That's your friend.
I am sorry, ladies. Guys do not care. And this is someone like I've always like been into hobbies or like had stuff going on. Guys just don't care. And if anything, like it can be a negative if you're too busy. Like to be honest, guys really don't give a shit about your work. Like they don't care.
They're intimidated because you have an opinion. No, they're not intimidated. It's just
they'd rather you just kept it to yourself. You know.
But it's like, or just keep the peace.
Yeah.
Keep the peace. You know what I'm saying? And like that's the issue. It's like I want peace because you're saying things to me. Again, we go back to the whole thing. Like, I don't believe in astrology, and now you're yelling at me because of this shit. Like,
does that happen to you?
Yeah, I was like, no, I'm not intimidated because you believe in astrology. You're just wrong.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And like, it's just really upsetting. But it's not upsetting that the girl believes it. It's upsetting that these groups of girls get together and start telling each other this fucking cope nonsense that these men are intimidated. No, he didn't ghost you because he's intimidated. He ghosted you because you did not he was not attracted to the qualities you showed. Not enough femininity, not enough loyalty, and an argumentative nature. Like again, I have some boundaries. I know you have wife school or whatever. I have some boundaries. A woman can ask me how I feel. She can never tell me how I feel. That is the quickest way for me to end a relationship. And another thing is I cannot fucking stand exaggerations. You always do this. You do this every time. Like, bro, what are we talking about? Like, I can't even have a conversation when that happens. Like, things like that do not bring peace to a relationship. If you can just avoid doing those things, then it makes things way easier.
Yeah.
It's not, I have a preference for peace. That doesn't not mean I'm intimidated.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. And like, it just drives, and like, I'm not mad because you're wrong, because you are wrong if you believe that. What I'm upset is like, women are actually giving this as advice to other women to try to pick up their ego, and you're just hurting your friends.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like a lot of times women are nice, but they're not kind.
Yeah.
And it's not kind to tell someone what they want to hear if it hurts them in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It is not kind. Again, short-term consequences versus long-term consequences.
And that's why I think men aren't as quote unquote nice, but they're more kind than women. Like, or women were like quote unquote nicer, but we're not as kind.
Yeah. Because they're telling the truth.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
How do you do the recruiting for your show?
Recruiting. That was hell. That was hell on earth. We basically.
Does it get progressively easier over time?
Yeah. Blessing built like a website that the recruiters can log like the guests. But yeah, so there's like a whole website we made that like basically, and yeah, we just pay recruiters per guest.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All the girls who come on the show, we have like 11 on every time. They're all girls I know. And they're different girls every time.
Oh yeah.
I do all of it.
I did it early on, but again, I outsourced everything right away.
That sounds really smart.
Yeah. So I think the last time I recruited was maybe July of last year. But if there's a special panel, I'll pick the people. So like the Tate panel, I picked who I wanted on. So if there's like a special thing.
It's really good.
Yeah. Like in the future, I want to do certain topics like with the people that we talk about. So, like, I want to do a panel with fat chicks talking about body positivity, maybe trainers or something. Yeah. So I think that'll be cool.
You know, again, remember the topic we said about personal self-worth and then, like, sexual market value?
Yeah.
It's not men's fault they don't find you attractive for being overweight. That's not their fault. They're not victimizing you. Like, that's the issue. And, like, that's the problem. You can have personal self-worth. An overweight woman could cure cancer. That's different than men finding you attractive.
Yeah.
The problem where the confusion is, again, men, their personal self-worth and their value are the same or similar. They're near concentric circles. They're overlapping circles. But for women, their sexual market value and their personal self-worth are different. The problem is, like, when you hear Sneeko talk about this before, is like women calling themselves a 10. As a man, you know how much money I'm worth? It says it in my bank account. I don't get to make up a number.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't get to make a how much do women like me? I can look and see how many women want to date me. It's an objective measurement that I can look at. I can't make up a fucking number because it makes me feel good. You can be the origin of your own self-esteem. You cannot be the origin of your status. You cannot be the origin of your own value. You can't make up your own value. You have, like, your value is determined by other people. And when you express that to these women, they get so angry. And I'm like, no, you're still, look, God still loves you. That's not what the discussion we're having. We're having a discussion about whether or not men find you attractive. Well, I'm not doing this for men. I'm like, no, you're on a show where you're talking about your sexual market value. You literally are doing this for men.
Yeah. You know how I lost 30 pounds? Because, you know, when I finished sports, you know, my whole life I worked out probably 3 to 5 hours a day. Because, and I never was the best eater, but I worked out 3 to 5 hours a day. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I played basketball and I played volleyball. So after I graduated college, and I went to selling copiers, I blew up like a balloon. Yeah, I blew up. I gained like a ton of weight like really fast. And you know what made me lose the weight? The guys were joking around at the office. They were like, I would never date a girl over 200 pounds. And I was like, you know.
And for those of you who don't know, she's 5'11" and a half, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you can't tell because we're sitting next to each other.
Yeah. Well, and so, but I didn't look like I was over 200 pounds, but I hurt my feelings so much at the time. Yeah, I lost a bunch of weight.
Yeah.
I ran a marathon to lose it. And that's the thing, like, you can either take the criticism and say, you know what, I got to make some change. And I needed to, right? Even at my height, you shouldn't be over 200 pounds. You shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And so, that's my thing is, like, if the girls just, like, took the criticism and, like, used it to motivate them, they should get on the treadmill.
You did lead by example.
Yeah.
In that one as well.
I ran a marathon.
Do you have any opinions when it comes to testosterone levels? I've heard you vaguely talk about something like this. This is something we talk about a lot on this show.
Nothing strong.
No.
I've heard there's a couple things. I'm a hormone doctor.
Okay.
And he was talking about how a lot of times trans people, their hormones are messed up, and that's why they think they're the opposite gender. So like their testosterone levels like are either too high or too like vice versa. Sure. And he would fix their hormone levels, and they actually wouldn't think they're trans anymore.
Interesting.
I've heard testosterone's lowering and I've heard that's like bad for men. So
a possible hypothesis, we'll go back to the science, is that as we get further away from the survival scenario that your ancestors lived in, so too much testosterone causes blockages in the artery. It causes your blood to turn into syrup. It increases viscosity in the blood, which is something you can handle when you're 19, but not when you're 59. It's bad to have testosterone levels, a total test level in the 1100s when you're 59 years old. But if you did it when you were 19, the elasticity of your vascular system can handle it. Does that make sense? So what happens is over time, there's an evolutionary adaptation for your testosterone levels to lower for a couple reasons. Number one, evolutionarily, you're just not the young buck fucking all the hot girls anymore. So you're sort of like stepping back and becoming the elder. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And number two, having that high level of testosterone with degenerative joints, like a guy who's 65 years old who has all this muscle mass to weigh 275, he's not going to have the joint capacity to handle it. So the adaptation is for your testosterone levels to lower. The thing is, they stay higher the longer you're baling hay, hunting the deer, doing the or fighting for your life. Those survival scenario situations cause a necessity for your body to produce more testosterone. By the way, it's partially genetic, but not completely genetic. There's some studies that show when men gamble and there's beautiful women around, their testosterone serum levels actually increase. When men drive fast cars, this is actually a study done by University of Nevada, Las Vegas, UNLV, just down the street. When men drive fast cars, their testosterone levels go up. So one hypothesis, the one I subscribe to, is the idea that as we have gone further and further away from the survival scenario, instead of worrying about killing the apex predator that's outside the village, we worry about whether or not it's a good thing that Elon Musk bought Twitter. Which, like, the very fact that we are even having the discussion, like, I'm not saying trans women in sports. The fact that we're even having the discussion about bathrooms shows that I have a roof over my head, 3 square meals. I'm fairly certain I will not be murdered as I walk to my car. As I eat food in a restaurant, no one's going to steal my food because they're bigger and stronger than me. I'm away from the survival scenario. As I get further and further away, my body comes to the recognition you need less testosterone. Does that make sense? That's just the theory. That's the kind of the theory. If you have people that lived in a consistent survival scenario, their body is going to produce more testosterone. And over the course of years, generations, 11,700 years since the beginning of the agricultural revolution, you're going to start seeing lower and lower and lower testosterone levels as we start putting microchips in our fucking head, as we start like uploading our consciousness into AI. As we do those things, it's less, I don't need to punch things, lift things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And as I need to do those things or fight, as I need to do those things less, I don't need, testosterone causes thicker joints and causes a larger muscle mass and the reconstruction of muscles. When they tear down, you can build them up quicker. Yeah. And so because we don't need that as much, because instead of Arnold Schwarzenegger, now we have Machine Gun Kelly, that's the reason why you're starting to see my theory of why you're seeing lower and lower testosterone levels. When you consider what a person had to do in the 1950s to survive, including that generation that went to World War II, and then you look at what somebody in 2023 needs to do to survive, which is fucking nothing, then that's the reason why you'd find that case. But if you were to check the average testosterone levels of like Division I college football players, I bet you'd find it's about the same as it was 20, 30 years ago, because that segment of the population is closer to the survival scenario. They're closer to, I'm going to get hit or I'm going to die. Does that make sense? If you were to look at Navy SEALs, this might be a bad example because I've heard SEALs actually take steroids, but if you were to look at some of these guys, these frontline operators, recon Marines, and you were to look at their testosterone levels, I bet you're going to find it's about the same as it's been for the last 30, 40 years. But the majority of the population, you're probably right. Yeah. Yep. All right. So here's the last one. I want to ask you about this because I'm having Ruslan on in 2 days. Ruslan's going to come here on Saturday. Feminism has taken over the church, and your belief about like men taking these born again virgins and how the church is like more prescribed towards women. Oh,
because they always argue the female point of view. It's like I can't even have a conversation with the Christians recently, and it's hard because I'm a Catholic. I was 12 years of Catholic school. I would consider myself Catholic. Yeah, I'm not a diehard, right? But and it's unfortunate because when I was having that conversation I was talking about earlier with the cheating, the Christians' first response was, well, they can divorce. Like it says in the Bible, they can divorce. And I'm like, we should be on the same team. Yeah. We should believe the family should stay together, but you guys immediately take the woman's side, and you guys never talk about these women that don't sleep with their husbands. Yeah. And I've talked to so many divorce attorneys that tell me this, that I know this is a problem. Yeah. And I never hear you guys preach about. I've never heard you preach about submission.
I will specifically ask Ruslan about
you guys say you should submit to each other. What the hell does that mean? Like, genuinely, and this is when Rollo, I watched his stream on church. I had a stream a couple years ago where I was like, Rollo ruined church for me, because once I saw this, like, because I always felt like there was something like weird about church, and I couldn't put I couldn't describe like what, and it really bothered me, right? Because like, I think religion's great. Like I believe in God, I pray, but there was just something weird about it. And I seriously, I couldn't figure out what. But I remember sitting in Catholic school and they would have these chastity speakers come in. And I've always been me. Like, I've always had strong opinions about whatever. Just like, I'm just the person that gives their opinion. And they would have these chastity speakers. And it would always be the same thing, like the guy with the ran-through chick. And they would come, and so they can't tell me they don't preach this, because y'all literally, and these were Christians too. They weren't even Catholic. Well, some of them were Christians that came. So you guys cannot say, oh, we don't preach this. No, I was in high school. You guys literally preached this to me. So I will not, none of this. And they'll talk about, these girls will come in and say, oh, I did all this stuff, whatever. And now, like, I found this husband, I found God. And I'm like, well, this only worked because she was hot. One of the girls that came was literally an ex-America's Next Top Model. That is not going to work for your average chick, all right? This worked for the hot chick. And what the real message should be is, hey, you have this husband waiting for you if you make these choices. But if you fuck around too much, there ain't shit at the end of this tunnel. I think that's a little bit more on, unless you're really hot, you'll probably get away with it.
Isn't it funny?
Hot people just have privilege. Like, life is life, And so that's what, it's just like not honest. And I can't even have, and the Christian guys will clip me, and like they'll, like there's this one guy that said in the title that I rejected Christianity or something. And I'm like, isn't that lying? Like, you guys, like, and I'm like, you're not having this conversation in good faith if that's what you're putting in your title. This is a Christian
channel and they're literally lying about you.
Yes, in the title. And that's not what I said. I said, like, this is something I disagree with in the church. And I don't remember word for word what the title is. So what they'll do is they'll say, oh, it was something like that. Yeah. And so I was just like, how are we supposed to have a conversation in good faith? And my issue with the Christianity is, I'm like, they preach like to women and they never talk about the men's issues. There's a corn, and I don't remember, someone told me this, so this wasn't me, but there's like a corn addiction group, but there's no social media addiction group. Right. And there's all these women that lead the relationships. And then I see pastors coming on and saying, oh, well, if your husband's not leading you to God, then how are you supposed to follow him? And I'm like, your submission is not supposed to be dependent on your husband's behavior, just like his provisioning or whatever isn't supposed to be dependent on your behavior. Like, you can't. And so that's what I was realized. I'm like, they're all just like, there's a lot of simps in the church that just lie to us. And it pisses me off, because you're telling us, like, you're selling women this dream that's not true. And then I'll see these, like, I was in church, right? I was in this Christian church for a while, and I would see like this 25-year-old chick who is a virgin. She's fit, she's feminine. I'm like, why is she not like married? This is the ideal, right? And I'm thinking, like, there's no men in the church. There's like, they're all like, I know, and the stats will say it's 50-50, but if you look under a certain age and the singles groups, like, there was singles like ministry, like setting people up in this church, and it was like 90% women that were signing up to this. And they also don't talk about how the women are worse in the church. Why are guys saying that? Why are guys saying that it's a red flag if there's God first in your dating app? Why even, and I'm Catholic, all right, but like, why do we have such a bad reputation? And the churches will come in, and it irritates me because they're not honest. Like, you're coming in and you're saying, oh, well, it's just the churches you go. Not all churches are like that, but you're not addressing the actual problem. And that's what I just find it annoying. It's like, and so I'm not trying to take away from church, because I think church is a great thing. Yes. I think marriage is a great thing, but
you're just pointing out some flaws in the institution.
How can we fix it if we can't even identify it's a problem? Yeah. And you're selling women this bill of goods that at 28, that any guy that she's going to be attracted to is going to wait. Yeah. I'm sorry. It's just, that ship sailed at 22 what nowadays it's like 15.
So you feel like the church is having a part to play in this idea of having women who had a lascivious past and now they're coming back to the church. But here's the thing, because you came back to us, in repayment for you coming back to us, we've got a myriad of simps that you can choose from, and then you can end up marrying one of these dudes.
Yes, and the women
and the church is telling these men specifically to have so little experience with women that they go for this idea, and that now it becomes almost like a transaction. We are getting women back from OnlyFans, and then we're giving them to these simp men who have no experience with women, and then the two of them are accepting this arrangement, which will inevitably end in divorce, because these women are not going to want these men.
And they lead the like, I see it. Like,
the women lead the relationship.
Yes, yes. And like, they don't preach like about like I could not, when I saw this clip, and maybe there was more context of this preacher saying your submission to your husband, like, is like, what if he's not leading you to God? And I'm like, well, how would she know? Like, she's supposed to follow his lead. And where is the question? Like, why would you pick someone that's not leading you to God? And plus, it's like, women, we change our minds every goddamn day. Sorry, gosh darn day. And like, so you don't even know. And so maybe one day you think he's leading you to God, one day you think he's not. Like, that's not supposed to be the choice. The choice is, hey, you married him, you follow his lead, and you pray. Like like, you know, I know people in my family that didn't leave their husbands for like adultery because they believed he would go to hell if they left him. That was the level of like of belief they had.
Working to work it out.
Well, yeah, and like, well, and faith. Yeah. And that's the thing, like, where they really believed what they said. And that's why, like, I think the men go to church and they're just like, well, the quality of women here is worse. The pastor's gaslighting me because he's telling me the quality of women isn't worse. Yeah, so I'm not, and I'd like to say I like church. I'm for church good, religion, it's all good.
Yes.
But how are we supposed to have good faith conversations if these guys are pandering to women constantly?
Yeah. That was a really interesting topic that I heard you talk about. Because I hadn't thought about it like that, but I have seen something similar where it's like, one of the problems is, what's very controversial in Red Pill is this idea that men should have some experience with women. And the church does not encourage that. And when that happens, you end up in a situation like with Steven Crowder. I think Steven Crowder is a great content creator. I think Steven Crowder has some really interesting ideas, but Steven Crowder does not know more about women than me. And I know he doesn't know more about women than me because he didn't get a fucking prenup in the state of Texas. So whatever he wants to say about how this was the first person he was with and he married her, and God forbid if this happens to Ben Shapiro. Because if it happens, the world is going to come down on him because he told all of us, you need to marry the first woman that you need to marry the first woman that you sleep with. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with him saying that. That's totally fine. The problem is when you tell the rest of us who actually wanted experience with women that we were wrong for what we're doing, we're not making those same mistakes, and we are better at picking out those red flags that the church, you're saying that the church is telling us to ignore.
Well, and the issue too is they don't realize, like, it's a reaction. Like, the men sleeping with a bunch of women, I think it's a reaction to the way women are because they don't want to get bamboozled.
Got it.
How are you supposed to know? Because let's be honest, like, women will, like, what's the girl's body? Like, girls are going to lie for days. So how is a guy supposed to know if she's like an actual genuine girl or like a girl that's like been ran through and is just like the born again stuff without having experience with women? And it's not like, cause I was thinking about it. I'm like, the women don't want to get married young.
Yeah.
So like, because the guys want to marry the women young.
It's so great that you're bringing up the idea of men having, adult content addiction.
Yeah.
They have help for that, seminars for that. But women having an addiction to social media, which causes them, social media causes women to not want to be in monogamous relationships in their early 20s.
Oh my gosh, and this one thing was Rich, one of the guys that reacted to me. I was saying, like, okay, you could argue, like, they'll demonize the men for cheating, okay, or sleeping around. Because, like, if you believe, and you have to have this premise, like, that attention is to women as sex is to men. So that has to be if you don't believe that, then this doesn't make sense.
Sure, of course.
Okay, but so the women will have open social media accounts that are the preacher's wives or whatever. And maybe they don't have revealing stuff, but the point is Instagram is still the #1 dating app.
Yes.
And they're putting their face on there, which is their beauty, right? And you could argue, and I'm not saying they shouldn't have this, okay? Yeah. But this is just the equivalent. But we don't demonize the women for having an open social media account where anybody can message them, but they'll be the first to demonize the men for sleeping with the secretary after their wife hasn't slept with them in 2 years. Like, he's the evil person. And then they'll say things like, I would never work with somebody who cheated or whatever. This person just doesn't have morals. And I'm like, do you understand how condescending this sounds? Like, do you understand how, like, to me, I'm like, how can we have a normal good faith conversation if you're already demonizing the guy and just saying he's like so horrible, but the woman can do no wrong? Yeah, and so that's my thing is we demonize one, but we don't demonize the other. And my point was more about the double standards versus cheating. But I really didn't want cheating to be the hill I died on. I'm really not like for these, open one-sided relationships. That's like not
polygyny.
No, well, I wouldn't say is that when they're both?
No, polyamory is when they're both. Polygyny is.
You're right. Yeah.
Several.
I'm really not for that.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that's like conducive for a family.
For
like
sure.
Your dad's screwing the whole time. That's my opinion. But I somehow got accidentally made cheating the hill I was like dying on. I didn't mean it to be.
Yeah, that happened to me and Justin Waller and I. So the concept there's a book called The Intelligence Paradox by Satoshi Kanazawa, and he talks about as you go up the intelligence strata, you find that men are more likely to cheat. They're also more likely to stay up later, and they're also more likely to have messier apartments or messier houses as you go up the intelligence scale. So one of the things that I thought was interesting is that when we say this concept, which is true, it is true. When women cheat in a relationship, you are far more close to the end than when a man cheats. When a man cheats, it is something that's repairable. When a woman cheats, often it isn't. Again, where do I come up with these ideas? It's not because I'm a misogynist man who's trying to control women. It's because the studies show that when women cheat, 78% of the time, they report lower satisfaction in the marriage. Men report the same satisfaction in the marriage when they cheat. When women cheat, 83% of the time, they fall in love with their affair partner. For men, it's like 29% of the time. Mm-hmm. This would show that when women cheat, they are looking to move to a new partner. That is the end of the relationship. When men cheat, that is not the case. That is not saying that it's okay for men to cheat when I bring up those stats. People act like those stats are there to excuse men's cheating. No, cheating is wrong because cheating is lying, and lying to me is not masculine. So that's the reason why I believe in that. So one of the solutions if you want to say it, is a polygynous lifestyle where the man and the woman together go sleep with other women. That's one of the solutions. Another solution would be polyamory, in which case I have an issue with polyamory, and I have some friends that are polyamorous and they didn't like when I came out with this whole statement, is that polyamory does not work as well for men. It works better for women because women, when they get into a polyamorous relationship, have so many more options than a man does. And the example I was giving, one time I was at Hedonism. It's a resort in Jamaica. I was talking to this guy named Bob. His name was Rob. I was talking to this guy named Rob, and Rob was like, yeah, me and my wife were swingers, and we talked to multiple people or whatever. And his wife had 7 dudes lined up to have sex with her. And I'm watching Bob right here, and he's like lucky to get a makeout. And I'm like, this doesn't, bro, I don't think you understand how this works. You're paying for her whole life, and she's about to get ran through by the Jamaican bobsled team. Like, what are you doing, bro? So that's the only reason why I said that. Again, not prescribing this. These are just different options that people come up with.
Yeah. I'm not for that, but I was like, I don't know how I ended up arguing this hard about cheating.
Again, because you're doing a description, and when you do a description, that's not interesting, so they want a prescription.
Yeah.
And so they imbue a prescription on you, even though you didn't give one.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you want to do anything with Superchats? I know we've done it for a while. You want to do that? You want to do it with hers? I don't know if I have any.
I don't have hers pulled up. I have all yours, actually.
Okay, you want to do mine? Okay.
Absolutely. So we've got... Oh, okay, that's coming through. We've got a lot from Glenn Lawrence here.
Okay.
Let me just pop this up. Glenn Lawrence, at the very beginning of the show, says, my body count is Mike's max bench press.
Your body count is 375 pounds? It's fucking insane.
That's insane.
I'm kidding. Wow. I'm not 375. I'm probably like 315. I'm lying, dude. I can't do 375. Go ahead.
And when Pearl was talking about playing basketball, he said, pick and roll Pearl with the $5 super chat.
Okay.
And then later on, we were talking about marriage and divorce and that kind of thing. The problem isn't marriage. It's the problem is how we do divorces. It's exactly how he worded that.
Okay.
Yep. And then Just Max with a $5 super chat said, Mike, what's up, Pearl? What's the biggest difference between Chicago and London? The
correct answer is handguns.
Who were your favorite guests in your panels and why?
The biggest difference I would say is London's just really crowded. I mean, so is Chicago, but London's just so much more on top of each other crowded. London has a much better public transportation system. The buildings are a lot prettier, and there's a lot more. I mean, Chicago has history, but it's like it's just not the same. Yeah. Chicago, I've never lived in downtown Chicago. So, take this with a grain of salt. I would say Chicago maybe it's a bit more greenery, I would say.
Yeah.
What was the second question?
Who are your favorite guests in your panels and why?
Oh, favorite guest. I mean, Tate definitely. I forgot this guy's name. Oh no, I remember. I actually really liked the thing I did with CGA because I learned a lot about divorce laws in that. Like this was like a while ago, so this was like in the fall, and I really liked doing. Who else on my show did I really enjoy? Oh my gosh, Auntie Jenny, that's my favorite panelist.
Yeah, I saw her and I was like, that's a really great.
Yeah,
she's terrific.
Auntie Jenny, yeah. So
terrific. What any more?
Yeah, let's see. So then we've got Waterproof with a $2 super chat. He said, when are you doing a meet and greet here in, looks like Orange County, California? OCCA.
For her or me?
Doesn't say.
Okay, so we just announced we're going to do a meet and greet in it. No, fuck it. Hey, by the way, I go to Chicago once a year because I work for a financial network that's up there. So if you ever do content up there. The other thing I was going to say is Chicago actually does have a summer.
Oh, yeah.
In London, they have a summer, but it's not quite, let's all go on the boat in bikinis. It's not quite the same summer there.
Oh, yes, that's really true. And Chicago gets freaking freezing.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Yeah.
Anything else?
The very last one is another $5 super chat from Glenn Lawrence. This was when you guys were talking about accountability stuff. He said, everything is not your fault, but you always have a responsibility to act.
Yeah. Have you ever read Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink? Highly recommend that. Okay. That's at the top. For self-help, top 5 book of all time. He's a Navy SEAL. He was on SEAL Team 6, and he basically goes over. It's very similar to, if you ever read Hustle Harder by 50 Cent. Hustle Harder he talks about business things in his life, and then he relates it to when he was a crack dealer in the Queens, and then he has like these leadership lessons from it. This dude is the same thing, except he was a Navy SEAL, and then he relates it to like business, and it's so good. But the main thing is, no one's coming to save you. It's always your fault, even when it's not your fault. It's one of the greatest books I've ever read. This is terrific. We don't have anything for Pearl pulled up?
Let me see if I can.
Okay, cool. Because I'm looking at your thing, and on my phone, I can't see. You definitely had some, but I can't see them.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Scroll up.
Okay, awesome. While you're doing that, last thing, I'm a matchmaker. We want to find Pearl a dude. So what do we do? What are Pearl's requirements, and then what have been the problems previously for Pearl to find Pearl a dude? By the way, just to let you know, all my friends meet their partners through me. That's one of the when I have this many female friends and this many guy friends, these big events that I throw, they end up becoming matchmaking. My friends get married. Like it's a very common thing because it's a good quality type of girl who comes to a charity event or wants to rescue animals, and then a dude who's like, of financial means to make it into, a certain type of event. So I'm just curious, in your situation, what are you looking for? Where are men falling short, and what are some issues you've had?
Well, I want a guy that wants a good amount of kids.
Okay. And you want to start that pretty quickly.
Ideally. So I want like 4 kids.
Okay.
So I mean, at least 2, but I've always wanted 4.
Okay.
I've always wanted a guy that's not like a super big partier, to be honest.
Okay.
Like every now and then is okay, but like if
forget everything I said. I can't help Pearl at all. Fuck this all. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I don't know anyone never Pearl now. Fuck it. I was kidding.
I mean, like ideally, right?
Yeah, of course.
Height, close to. I mean, it's okay if he's a bit shorter.
So 5'10's fine.
Yeah, 5'10's okay. I mean, even 5'9's all right too. I just like 5'5", 5'6 is kind of Yeah, but I like guys with like nice smiles.
I would imagine because of the success of your channel, is money a big thing for you now?
Not really. I always said, and people always say I'm capping, so it's like maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, I made $42K plus commission at my old sales job.
Yeah.
And I feel like social media, like it's real, but it's not real. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not really that judgmental about like income because I feel like it's like I'm talking into a microphone. How am I gonna be better than Yeah. So I don't know, like 42 roughly is what it'd be. You'd
be fine with $42,000 a year for the guy you're dating.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how old he is, right? Like if I'm, but if he's my age, I don't.
Do you see any issues with like as you go further in the relationship and you start making 7 figures a year and he's making $42,000 a year that you are going to be like the private school tuition is yours now, right?
Yeah.
You understand? Do you see that being an issue at all?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an issue for everyone else.
Yeah.
So it seems like that would be a tough position.
An issue in that it would emasculate him. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. No, I think that would be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's,
Okay. In your last couple years, where have men fallen short, or where has the situation fallen short where you can't find this?
I mean, this year I would say it's like because I'm moving back to the U.S. So it's kind of like you could start something, but I don't want like long term. I just don't see myself in London.
Yeah.
Like I want to be close to my family. Before that, and the main thing for me, really conservative.
Yeah,
I would
politically
say,
conservative.
Yeah, I would say it was hard for a while to find like conservative guys. I meet more now, but like.
You ready, Tristan? You ready?
I'm like I like guys that almost don't think women should vote. Like that conservative.
Can we get Jesse Lee Peterson over here?
Yeah,
maybe he's single.
yeah.
Maybe he's single.
Like if a guy says anything in the middle, I'm like, no, you know.
And when do I go to you and Nick Fuentes' wedding? That's gonna be that's interesting.
You know, no, Nick, he doesn't. I'm not the right type of white. Remember, he wants the Italian. You know.
God damn,
yes,
that's so
yes,
crazy,
yes.
bro. And the thing is, like, he'll say this, and then he'll have this big smile on his face. It's like, of course, blacks and whites should not mongrelize. And the big fucking smile on his face. I love all of you.
No,
Black
if you know an Italian virgin to set him up with, that's what he's.
The thing is, I do, and that would be crazy. But I'm not setting him up with Nick Fuentes.
Well, you know.
Yeah. So that's the issue. The issues that you've had with that. One of the things I would worry about you. So you understand, I'm out on a fucking limb with my girlfriend, like because guys are not taking their girlfriends on these shows like I am, right?
Yeah.
And so if all of a sudden she turns crazy, it's going to reflect poorly on my whole situation. I know I'm taking a risk, and the thing is, I trust my girlfriend. That's why it's worked out so far. And she's so fucking stunning that I do want people to see, right?
She's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love your girlfriend.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know I've never met her.
Yeah.
But I was just such a fan on whatever. I was like, you go.
Yeah. So the thing is, so my relationship has become a bit public. I'm nowhere near as famous as you guys are. The issue for you is when you date someone, the scrutiny that your relationship is going to come under and the scrutiny that this dude is going to come over if he does anything wrong.
Yeah, I would prefer no one to even know we're dating.
There you go.
That would be my solution. I would like, one day I'll just pop up married and you guys will be like, you had a boyfriend? I'd be like, yeah, I do. Sorry, forgot to tell you guys.
So if it was a content creator, that might be a problem, right? Or maybe you just don't tell them that you're seeing someone else.
What do you mean?
You would want to keep the relationship under wraps. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, he'd have to be like, I would, if I liked him, I'd do what he wanted to do.
Got it.
Do you know what I mean? Like, he would have to pick. But I mean, ideally, like, I think that's a hard position for a guy to be in.
Yeah.
Especially with how controversial my stuff is.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm fighting whales one day and, I get all this, like, now my family's getting harassed, then he could potentially get harassed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say that my ideal situation would be for people to not know. But if he felt like that was a problem, then, like, people can know.
Do you believe in long-distance relationships with as much as you traveling as you do?
No. I mean, that's why I'm coming back because, like, I don't think long distance really works.
Rough.
Yeah. I don't plan, like, half the reason I'm traveling so much is I'm looking at cities. I'm trying to figure out where to move. I'm not planning on doing that when I get back. I'm in the US. Maybe these people can come to me now. I'm not going. I'm trying to figure out where I just want to move.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, no,
what are the guys like in Vegas?
They're incredibly fucking good looking, and that's the problem.
Oh, okay.
Like the girls here complain all the time. Like the dudes here are all like 6'3" Australian like fitness models, and
but that's like dangerous because they're screwing everybody.
Like, oh look,
so I'll be just lonely things in Vegas. That's what they're calling.
But if you move further away, like I said, like Summerlin, you're going to find different types of dudes.
Okay.
The problem dating here for women is that there's so many attractive women here. We were talking about this before that it's what's it called? It's like a cascade effect. If you live in a city with a bunch of strippers, okay, and you're like, well, my husband was not going to want to be with a stripper, but you go to the gym and every girl there who strips at the club is like ripped with big fake boobs and like, then what happens is it goes down to now the next level of girl who's like a receptionist. She's now in her mind competing with the stripper, so now she's going to the gym more, and so the whole city becomes kind of better in shape, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And if you go to Houston or Dallas, you'll notice that there's a difference there between going to like New Jersey or Chicago. The girls there do, because in the winter they can just cover all this up.
Right.
In Texas in the summer, you're just in a bikini all the time. Every girl is.
So I'll be in the best shape of my life here.
I think you're gonna not without consciously recognizing it, going to want to get in the best shape in your life here, because when you go out, you're just going to notice that the locals here are the best looking people I've ever seen in my entire life. Really? The locals here, not
prettier than Miami.
Yeah, definitely prettier than Miami.
Really, I was like, those are the most beautiful women I've seen in Miami.
Well, I don't only like Hispanic women. Like that's the difference. I think Hispanic women are really attractive. I just think there's more variety here.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah. So that's where I would say it's a little different. Now, the other thing is that's what I would say is the biggest difference. The dudes here are here because of their physical attractiveness. If they're a VIP host, a bartender, or whatever, and the service industry is so big here that like you're just going to notice you're going to meet guys that are just ridiculously good looking. But yeah, there's going to be some red flags there.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I would say about living here.
Yeah. So don't date guys in Vegas.
You could. Listen, we don't have to be that reductive. You could probably find a great guy, but I will say like it's crazy to me whenever single guys don't want to live here. Like this is place is an easy mode. It really is. It really is. Like my girlfriend's stunning, and she constantly tells me whenever we go out, she's like, "Oh my God, these girls are so pretty." And I'm like, "I think you're prettier, but like I do understand what you're saying." Whereas when we go out Dallas or Houston, it's just not the same. You just don't see the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's probably the biggest difference. Do we have any other? Did you find any super chats for her?
Yeah. So I've got 3 big ones for Pearl.
Okay.
So we've got from Stacy Campbell, whale merch. I'll have you snail. I don't really know what that means, but work.
Thank you, Stacy.
Yeah, and then we've got from a $10 super chat from Christian Montague. Hey, Pearl, I'm in the process of getting divorced. Interested in being part of your documentary. Are you looking for more participants?
Yeah, I have. Oh gosh, I have such a line for participants. But the best thing is if you can come to me in either London or I'm in Chicago next week. So you can DM me on Instagram if you have a story that you want. But yeah.
And last one is a $5 super chat from Enter Black Dragon. Pearl, I still love and support what you do. Hard question to ask, but hearing you now, was Nick Fuentes really worth the cost of everything you lost?
First, what did you lose?
Sanity.
Yeah. Was there anything tangible you lost?
Not really. My subs rate slowed, but I didn't lose any subs. Yeah. I actually gained still.
What would you do different, if anything?
I probably just would have ignored everything. I probably still would have had him on, to be honest. I believe, I believe what I believe. I believe in freedom of speech. I actually really thought that was a good piece of content. I thought I was one of the few people that interviewed him without trying to gotcha him, just letting him speak. And people can disagree with that, but I think it's good to have a platform like that.
The criticism of some of the African and Anglo-African is, I don't know what you call them in the UK.
Yeah.
Were their criticisms hurtful to you at all?
Yeah. I would say
the ones you work with, the ones that come on your show.
I would say having a co-host call me a colonizer was a bit hurtful. Sure. I would say having someone that spent, a week with my entire team in our studio insinuating that I was a racist was hurtful.
Sure.
And especially after he told me he did not watch the video, which is a bit like you would think if you're going to make a hit piece on your friend, you would watch the video.
Yeah.
Do you know what I like? That would be a bit. But overall, I would say it was not worth the stress in hindsight, but I would still do it again because I believe in freedom of speech.
Yes. So I'm going to say my viewpoint if anyone gives a shit. You're not a racist because you let another racist speak. Mm-hmm. If you believe Nick Fuentes is a racist or not, maybe some of you don't. Mm-hmm. Maybe some of you do. You're a racist because you're a racist. Mm-hmm. You're a racist because you believe that one race is higher than another.
Yeah.
Also, there's a difference between racism and prejudice. There's a difference there. We could get into that whole discussion. But you giving a platform to someone who says something like, I had flat earthers on here. That doesn't make me an anti-scientist because I was debating flat earthers. And we had a nice cordial conversation, and I actually would like to debate them again. You're not a racist because you let a racist speak. People should be allowed to speak. That is the basis. There are many amendments, but one of them comes first, is the freedom of assembly and freedom of expression. And there's a reason why when we join the U.S. military, we swear to serve and protect the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, which is why I support anyone's right to say whatever they want. I also support people's right of age. If If they want to transition from a man to a woman, I support that as well. That's freedom of expression. I don't support you telling 9-year-olds to fucking do it. I have a fucking problem with that. But but if somebody wants to do it over age, fine. You can do whatever you want. I will support people's right to kneel, but I wouldn't have knelt for the national anthem because I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I didn't join the U.S. military to serve and protect the Constitution and then get to choose which one of the amendments I support and the ones that I don't. Make sense? So, just my opinion. You didn't do anything wrong for platforming the guy. You do something. You're a racist because you're a racist. You're not a racist because you've let somebody else speak. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But that was a lot of pushback. That was crazy. Yeah. I broke the manosphere. Yeah. I was like, there was these people fighting over me. Like they literally stopped being friends with each other because of me. I'm like, gosh darn, this is crazy. Yeah. All
right. Well, hey, listen, I want to let you know, I know I kept you for a long time.
Yeah.
I want to let you know, you always have a place if you want to come on Zoom and if you want to tell your side of anything, you always have a place. Even if you say something I disagree with, I'm never going to have an issue where I'm not going to talk to you face to face. If there's ever an issue, I want to let you know that. Because I know I have an affiliation with Rollo and some of these other guys who've been critical of you. That's not me. Okay. Just want to let you know, no matter what, if you want to say something, I'm down to talk about it. Okay? Sound good? I love your content. I think it's great. I think what you're doing is important. I do understand where people get this criticism. The only thing I would suggest, and you don't have to listen to what I'm saying, is that there are 7 books I would highly recommend that deal specifically with evolutionary psychology. Because from that standpoint, it's not your opinion anymore. You have a scientific basis for every single one of these things you believe. That's the only thing I would say. Besides that, is there anything else? Well, where can people find you?
I do have a channel. It's called Just Pearly Things.
There you go.
Yeah, make sure you guys like this video, okay? I'm so tired of people watching and not liking.
Right.
It's like it's free.
Yeah.
So we're putting this out for free. They don't even like the video.
Yeah.
But yeah, follow me, Just Pearly Things. Instagram, Just Pearly Things 1. Not on TikTok. Oh, and I've been tweeting a lot. I've been really big on Twitter.
Yeah.
I have been tweeting like a madness. So follow me, Pearly Things with a Z at the end.
Nice.
That's it.
Nice. Okay, awesome. Well, I appreciate your support. You didn't have to come out here, and I really appreciate you coming out here and doing this for this whole time. And if there's anything you need from me, let me know. I would like for you and Rollo to be able to do a show together. If I got to be the moderator, I'll fucking do it.
Yeah, I need something in writing that he's not going to tweet about me if things go awry.
Right.
That's what I need. I need something that like takes the Twitter away.
Okay.
Because I don't know if he gets mad again. I don't want to see tweets.
Okay.
But I'll think about it.
Got it. Awesome. I wish you were here tomorrow night because we're doing Access Vegas, but I know you got to leave town.
No, I'm leaving.
Well, one of these days I do want you to come on. So hopefully you can come in and do that. And then we can take you on stage at Zook and you can hang out and watch Tiesto.
What's Zook?
I love it. It's a nightclub here. It's a huge nightclub.
Oh, okay.
I imagine you probably don't go to any. You don't do any nightclub stuff?
Well, you see, I can't really. I have a disorder. It's like for strobe lights.
Really?
Yeah, it's called this. Yes, I can't even club if I wanted to. It's called photosensitive seizure disorder. It's different than dyslexia or whatever. Wow. It's different than the one. What's it called?
Epilepsy.
It's different than epilepsy because it's only strobe lights. So I'm good in day-to-day life, but strobe lights, it's a
okay.
No.
Towel Beach on stage. We're taking her up there, and then I'm dunking on her. Yeah. All right, awesome. All right, guys, stay tuned. We got much more coming your way. We got many, many more interviews, but I really appreciate you guys sticking with us for this entire time. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. I cannot possibly express to you how much I appreciate like all the downloads from all the different platforms, and the fact that I got 40 million views on fucking TikTok last month. I still don't understand how that happened, but I really appreciate that you guys, and I will see you all in a few days. I will see you guys all next week. Thank you.